Oh, what it do, y'all? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Shout out to McDonald's out of nowhere.
No, I'm taking that shout out back.
Nationwide is on
Oh
our
my
side.
God.
I'm just going through them. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mama We Made It podcast. It's your boy Nushi, baby.
And we got Roushi the Silk.
Roushi the Silk, Nushi the Stone. Let's get it on.
Ooh.
This podcast today, single-handedly, is probably one of my favorites today.
Fantastic
I think
story.
your Caucasian self would agree.
Man, definitely one of my favorites by far.
Definitely.
This is a powerful story.
Very powerful story. Shout out to Denise Jones and her path, man. Like, this is really, shout out to you, D, for having the drive and the willpower to go through what you did and taking your career in your own hands and thugging it the fuck out.
And surviving in the desert till the rain comes.
And it's raining, man. Hallelujah.
It's raining. Wow, we hit him with all the songs. This is great. Welcome to the Mama We Made It sing along.
The advert plugs. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you the story of the illustrious Denise Jones. Mama, we made it. What it do Hey, special vibe today. We're recording on June the 16th. One of the greatest entertainers ever to be alive and have impacted the culture was born today.
Yes, sir.
And the gorgeous thing is, on this beautiful day, we have Denise Jones in the motherfucking
I am
building.
honored.
Denise Jones is in the building.
I am honored. I am honored, guys. Thank you so much for having me on Tupac's
Yes.
day.
This is a special day.
It is.
And to be honest, like, I'm very glad a special human being like yourself is sharing their story with us on a day like this.
Can I tell you that? And I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Not
but
at all.
Tupac died at 25, and I'm going to be 25 in a couple months. Wow. So it makes this even more special, you know?
You know
Absolutely.
what's crazy about Tupac is that he had this look that was almost ageless.
Yeah.
Like if you said
1
Tupac was
trillion.
40, you'd be like, yeah, he's 40. If you said
Absolutely.
Tupac's 18, you're like, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Like, I mean, look, like, even going back to him as a human being, I think one of the things that sets him apart is his ability to be completely vulnerable and speak his truth,
Yeah.
however that was or whatnot. And it goes to really complement this podcast in where vulnerability is really the key component, and just, you know, everybody's journey is unique.
Yep.
Everybody's journey along the way isn't as glamorous as whether it's how we see it or how others see it. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And the incredible thing, y'all, is Denise's journey is absolutely fucking prolific. And I'm really excited to get into this deep dive, triple backflip, Michael Phelps gold medal winner scenario in this podcast. Where that went, I had no clue. I lost it and let y'all know that we did.
I caught
Be
it.
free.
I'm glad you did. She got that Odell Beckham one-hander down, just behind the head, just straight up here. Denise, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I wanna let's start out early on. Like, give us a little bit about your background, because I feel like even your birth into this world is unique, right? And being biracial as you are. Really comes with its own, I guess, becoming, right? But take us through your background. You're a native Angelino, no?
Yes. Born and raised in LA. So I come from technically it's a one-parent home.
Okay.
And I say technically because my stepdad did play a role in my life bigger than my biological dad. But my mom also did an amazing job at being my mom and dad. So I grew up in Compton, California. And growing up in a city like that in the 90s is, I want to say, what you see on TV, for the most part, what you see in movies today. right? And I say today because it's not like that anymore. It's different. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of growth. It's not as much growth as we'd like to see, but it's still progressing, right? And in the 90s, I grew up in a home where, you know, we would have like police raids, right? And we would have like a helicopter come out and they were looking for somebody at 2, 3 in the morning. And we would, you know, we already knew growing up because I grew up with 2 of my half siblings from my mom's side. And, you know, the police would knock on the door and we would all off the back know we either had to go with our mom or we had to be on the floor, and they would raid every room in the neighborhood just to make sure that whoever they were looking for wasn't in the house. So
really?
Growing up with something like that, you think that that's the norm, right? You think that growing up, that's what everybody goes through. Mm-hmm. And I went to a school 4 cities away. I went to Huntington Park High School because my family thought that was going to make life a little easier, because Centennial and Dominguez, Compton High School has a really bad, everyone has a really bad vibe to it, right? Yeah. And so Huntington Park seemed like the better idea, but it wasn't that much more different than going to a school out there. It's still like part of the LAUSD program, so it's still a school that's low income. Sure. So growing up there, Compton was at the time predominantly a black city. Maybe today still, but the street that my family still lives in is more Hispanic. Okay. And Huntington Park is all Hispanic, right? You deal with the Hernandezes and the Mendozas. And my last name is Jones. Oh, word. And it's like, no one got it right. Yeah. My teachers were like, Jones.
Jones.
Like, what is, I was so.
Jones.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Did they ever try and give like that either accent? Like, Jones?
Oñez. Denise Oñez.
You threw the N up?
You did.
Oñez. It was almost like they hadn't come across a name like that on the roster, that they were like, oh, maybe it's pronounced in Spanish, right? And I hated it. I hated my last name. I was really dark when I was younger, and I had really, really curly hair. I don't have it now, but as curly as I did, but I had a really tight Jerry curl almost.
Respect.
Dark hair. Dark hair. This is dyed. And I was a lot darker. And growing up in Compton, I just hated everything about that. I hated not fitting in anywhere because my mom is light skinned like yourself. She's almost your skin color, maybe even a little lighter.
What up, mama?
And I never met my biological dad. Like, I never saw him he wasn't in my life growing up. Got it. You know? So, you know, and I have 2 half siblings and they're both tan, but everyone's like, oh, you look just like your father. And oh my God, this is what your dad used to do. And I'm kind of just sitting there like, hey guys, I'm still here too, you know? And growing up with something like that, I feel like my mom and my dad, and when I say dad, I mean my stepdad. Yeah. So, but he's still like really played a big role in my life. When you grow up like that, your parents wish that you got all the love, right, that they could possibly give you. But even then, it really wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me to love myself. I hated everything about myself. Hated saying that I was from Compton. I always said, oh, you know, from Huntington Park, in the city, you know, this street and that street. I would study the streets so that I knew what streets to give. And it sucked because it was more homework that I had to do. But on the plus side, I didn't have too many friends. So I dedicated a lot of my time to school. I invested a lot of time in extracurricular activities, and not like sports or anything like that, at least not until high school. And in elementary school and in middle school, I was just a nerd. I was a nerd. In middle school, I told you when we talked, I was bullied in middle school. So it sucked because it's like you're already the kid, you know, with the last name, and you're darker than a lot of the kids. And in Compton, like I told you, I was lighter than I was too light for the blacks, and I was too dark for the Hispanics. So I didn't feel like I could fit in anywhere. And then my mom made me carry this rolling backpack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
she hit
that's
you with
bad.
the roller,
that's
though.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's really bad. That's the worst. Actually.
That's like the heart hurts bad, though.
Because she didn't want me to like carry heavy things. And I was just like,
no, look, effective, but like the coolness is zero. It's in the negative.
No, but strolling through LAX, yes. But like when you're a kid going to school,
going to 4th grade, you're like, oh,
it gets worse.
And you get labeled. You're like, you don't even get labeled. It's like you're like, oh yeah, the kid with the roll. Yeah, okay. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's so bad. It was so bad. And bless her heart, because I get it. They were making us carry these textbooks, and it was just we didn't have lockers because it was LAUSD, so it was just a mess, right? And they didn't even have working elevators. And there was a second floor. I had to drag that thing. Like,
you had the
also,
click,
and it was
click,
like,
click,
and you know,
click.
and also like there's like phases of how you carry your backpack. Like some people sag the bag, some people hold it really high up. Like, and that kind of defines who you are. It's part of your, it's like part of your outfit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're one of those dudes.
I can't relate.
You go to the one arm swang with it.
Yeah.
I couldn't relate to that, guys.
And then the rollies. And the rollies,
The rollies were the kids that were just like, So it was that. And then it was just like bad, like that. It was one thing after another. And my mom was just amazing. She was really, really cool because she was a teen mom. She's a teen mom, or she is a teen mom. She's still alive. God bless. She's a teen mom. So she had 3 kids before the age of 20. And that's a challenge because I'm 24. I don't even know how I would carry life with 1 kid right now, you know? So at 20, she had 3 kids and from 2 different fathers, right? And that's hard because in a Hispanic household, if you're not married, first of all, if you're not married and you have kids, you're frowned upon. But if you're with a black guy, it's like, what? Like you're almost disowned, right? And so when I was born, it'd be like, oh, she's cute, but she's dark, right? And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the tone in that. Yeah. And my mom off the bat got, and she tried to give me as much love as she possibly could. And it was interesting because she worked so much to get her GED to not be the stereotype that she kind of missed out on like some really important years. So that's where my stepdad comes into play, and he filled in those shoes fairly well. And I have to say, it's hard to raise a kid that's not yours. Yeah. Because you don't know. There's so many challenges. What can you, get mad at the kid? How do you even, celebrate an accomplishment? And I was very reserved, very like, don't touch me. Like, we never built that relationship, that father-daughter relationship. And I feel like, I'm gonna fast forward really quick. Now it's something that I'm still missing without even knowing. Really? And I didn't realize that till I was like, I think till a couple months ago, where I didn't realize that void is still there. I don't have like daddy issues that you see, but it's just one of those where it's like, man, I didn't realize that part was still missing. But anyway, he did an amazing job, but he just couldn't fit into the role that I wanted.
Got it.
And so
it's very hard also.
It's hard.
But like unless you're open, even I feel like it's two-sided, but in that instance, unless that figure is open to really like making the attempt, but also understanding a reservation and going through that process early to establish that, or they just play the role of a father figure and like keep it at bay.
You know what? I will. He tried really hard, and until this day, he's my dad. That's my dad. And partially at fault, I want to say, is my mom, because she was so overprotective of me that she didn't leave room for anyone else to protect or come into the picture. Got it. Which she had the best intentions, but it kind of did take a toll. And so anyway, so middle school, it fucking sucked. Could we curse here?
Yeah.
No, okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Cursing. So middle school sucked. Like I hated it. I hated every part of it. And part of it was because I hated myself. So I was bullied. I had to eat in the restroom. Like it was just really bad.
Really?
It was really, really bad. And I remember there was 2 special occasions that I remember in middle school. And those occasions really shifted my mind at that young age, at 13. And one of them was when I was 11. Right? When I was 11, I was in middle school. I was in 6th grade. I'm the oldest. I always felt like I had to be the example. Yeah. I always felt like I had to carry that role of not being the second mom, but being the trophy child, being the one that, be like him, or never the one causing problems, right? So in 6th grade, I graduated like really well in middle school. I placed advanced in elementary school. So I was advanced in middle school and I was advanced in high school. And in 6th grade, my brothers were picked up by my uncle after school, and they were in elementary school, and my parents didn't know about it. So they were freaking out. They were like, somebody took our kids. Like, what, what's going on? Whatever. This is kind of before when like cell phones were a privilege, not like now that every kid has them. Yeah. So I had an emergency cell phone, right? Oh, no. I'm sorry. This is the reason I got a cell phone.
Okay.
So I didn't have a cell phone. And my parents had an emergency cell phone. So I'm waiting in school, and there's a library right next door, and no one's picking me up. It's like 6 o'clock. They told, now they've told me to wait in the library, whatever.
What's going through your head during this
I'm like, man, did something happen to them? They didn't forget about me. I know they didn't forget about me, but what happened to them? And I have no way in communicating. It's like 7, 8. The library's now closed, right? And I live 4 cities away. I don't know how to take the bus because the last time we took the bus was when I was like, in second grade when my mom was making us wake up at 4 a.m. to take the bus by 6 and be in school by 7:30, which is absolutely ridiculous. But we got a family car, and now, 6th grade, I'm being dropped off, and I don't know how to get home. It's 8 o'clock. It's dark outside. I'm a little worried, right? Because Huntington Park isn't the safest area either.
Yeah.
And no one's coming, and I've called through the emergency library phone. No one's coming to pick me up, and at this point, I'm thinking like, what if they did forget about me, or what is, I don't know what possibly could have happened. And that's exactly what it was, because they were so concerned about my brothers being gone. They kind of forgot that they still had to pick me up.
Oh, wow.
And when I found that out, it really hurt. It really, really hurt, because it kind of put a lot of the things that I was already thinking in my head, it kind of made them true. Like, I was constantly thinking like, what would life be without me? I was constantly thinking about that growing up, because it just seemed like the perfect family. And I just felt like I was the odd one out, like technically I wasn't the one needed, because my mom is in this really happy second relationship, and I'm constantly causing problems without intending to, but just because my dad can't get mad at me, so my mom has to get mad at me, but she gets mad if he gets mad at me. So I become like the problem without being the problem.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, man, this really sucked. Like, maybe I should, I don't know, like, I didn't know, I wasn't going to commit suicide or anything like that. And I was too afraid to run away, but I wanted to disappear more than ever.
Wow.
And eating in the restroom, that kind of already makes you feel like a nobody, right?
Yes.
So when you're at that age, you're just thinking like...
Was it like refuge in the restroom, or was it just like staying away?
I was staying away. The middle school that I went to, it was really bad. Where it's like you picked any excuse to get in a fight. There was like cliques and gangs, and everyone was just being pushed around. So if you just bump shoulders with the wrong person, and honestly, it could be just absolutely anybody. That would just be an excuse to get a rumble, which is what it was called.
Word.
A rumble, and you would get your ass beat. You'd get your ass beat, and I couldn't fight. I didn't know how to fight. My mom grew up like I told you, she grew up with like a gang background, and she was more of like the aggressive type.
Really? Your mom?
And she didn't press that on us. We grew up, I was telling you, I forgot, I don't know why I didn't mention that. It's so many parts of the story. I grew up in I knew about kickbacks, and I knew about the homies when I was like 4 or 5. And we would all go, my parents, because they were so young when they had us, they were growing up with us. Yeah. So they would take us to their homie's house, and they would take us to the kickbacks, and we would be surrounded with like beer bottles and cups and, the lifestyle, right? But they never wanted us to have that lifestyle. So they slowly distanced themselves as much as they could. They're still very with, their friends and the people that they grew up with. But, it was one of those things where it seemed like the norm to me. When I heard of a kickback, it's like, oh, they're going to go see their friends. It wasn't like dangerous, as opposed to like a traditional mom that's like, where are you going? There's going to be what there? It's going to be weed? Oh my gosh. Like, my mom never made that an issue. She never made that an issue.
Did she have those talks with you growing up?
She had those talks, and it was more of those like, if you want to try it, you can try it with me.
Us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll give you good shit. I'll give you really good stuff, because if you try it with somebody else, they're going to give you the cheap stuff, and the cheap stuff's going to get you sick.
Yeah.
The fact that we know about the difference between, just an example, good marijuana and bad marijuana blows my mind. I don't want my kid to know, the difference between good and bad. I want them to know maybe when they're like 18, but not at like 9.
Yeah. It's wild though, because like even you think about that, and it's one of those instances, like when I was in junior high, my mom brought that up to me as well, right? And it was more of the fact of like, if you're going to do this, I know kids do, let me know, and I want to be the first to like be there, right? And it's one of those things where it's like when with parents being able to vocalize that, I feel like a lot of kids do certain things out of like being mischievous and against the grain. But when it's a norm to you or you're aware of it, it kind of becomes like, all right, well, cool. Because I remember in junior high, like some of my best friends were like smoking weed, and it was like this like super fantasy, like let's go to the park and all this. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, bro, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to me, I saw it as not something not good, but at the same time, it wasn't one of those where you want to partake just to not be good.
Right. Because you didn't fear anything. I feel like when you're young and you try and your parents aren't, you know, you know the consequences that come with it. It's like you're so controlled in the school system, and that's the only exit out. Yeah. Right. But when you have all this liberty, then you don't have to exit out that way, right? So then that also put in more work as to how I was going to exit out. How was I not going to feel like I was being controlled? And that moment in 6th grade really made my life kind of a chaos, because I was thinking just like, as much as I really had so much hate inside already, it made me really feel like I'm not needed. And
I want to ask you something. Did the culmination of that not needed, looking back on it, because naturally, like when you're a kid, you can't, I don't know if it plays out like that, but was it one of those things of being half African-American, half Mexican? Was it something where you started to realize you weren't good enough for either, and that became a predominant kind of function going forward? Yeah,
you lose your sense of belonging, absolutely, because, you know, and
because kids are ruthless.
Kids are very ruthless. You know so bad. You know, I had a kid once tell me, you're pretty, but you're too dark. And I'm like, fuck, man, I'm already pretty low. I didn't tell you anything.
Like I'm eating lunch in the bathroom. Really? Like
so rude. Yeah, but it was really bad. Hated it. And then the next part was in 8th grade. That was another key moment in middle school when I was always that goody good kid, right? Stayed out of everyone's way, go to school, get picked up, never caused any problems. And so my parents always told us, if you see something, report it. But make sure that you tell them it's anonymous. Make sure. They would emphasize in that anonymous part, right? So that's something that we carried with us, even to this day. Just because there's so much bad that comes with it accidentally. And so I was waiting for my dad to come pick me up. Because my brothers, I don't even know where they were at that time. But anyway, he was picking me up. And there was these kids smoking, right? But they were smoking like something weird I had never smelled. It wasn't marijuana because I was familiar with that. It was like something weird. It could have been cigarettes now that I think about it. But it was like nothing bad, right?
It's like cigars.
It's like nothing bad.
Cuban cigars.
Yeah, it was so lame. And so anyway, I just, I'm smelling it. They're right by me. The school's empty. There's no after school programs. It's almost like a minimum day. You remember minimum days. Everyone cleared out.
Yeah. So I was walking that ass to Carl's Jr., McDonald's, whatever. It was lit.
No, I didn't have any luxury of that. I didn't even have like a group to go with, right? So I was just ready to get picked up. And so I smell this and I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. These kids are doing something really bad, illegal or something. So I'm looking around for my nearest security guard and I see the security guard, Security Vargas. I'm not going to say his first name, but Vargas. Yeah. I'm calling you out. Anyway, guy. So I tell him when these kids aren't looking, I walk over to him. I'm like, hey, these kids next to me are smoking something. I want to make sure that I don't want them to know that it's me. Please make sure that it's anonymous, right?
The school security.
It's like Vargas, right?
Oh, God. So this guy must be friends with these kids.
Yo.
So he approaches them, right? And I'm at a distance, so I could see. But I'm there. They could see me too. And I'm the only kid I'm the only kid at school, right?
Oh my God.
So and these kids look like troublemakers. They're just dressed bad. Yeah. Like they don't care. I'm over here with this stupid rolling backpack. My pants are to my waist. I have a belt on. It's just. So anyway, so he tells them. And they're looking at me. I could see him moving his mouth, and then I could see them talking, and then they look at me. And at that moment, I lost all my marbles. I was literally like in panic mode. I have no backup. My family's not here. This guy's on their side. I felt like I was in some kind of battle, right? So then there's only one gate you can exit from. And because it's so late in the day, it's literally like a one-person door. So they stand by the gate, right? And I'm like, I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get out until my dad comes. I'm not going to get out. So sure enough, my dad pulls up, right? And he's driving a bucket. We had like, our family car was a bucket. It was just, we would get clowned on for it already. So he pulls up, and I never felt like, more relief. And I walk out, and these kids start spitting at me.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And I had my head down, and I just went to the car, and I started crying, and I'm just like, man, you picked me up late again. Like, these kids, they just spit at me right now. Like, you kidding me? So I'm like bawling, right? I had never felt more worthless.
Wow.
And I was already recuperating from that 6th grade. I forgot. Now we're in 8th grade. Yeah. So I'm just like, I felt just like worse than a penny on the floor.
Oh, man.
And so he got out, and he's like, yo, God bless my stepdad, because he really made me feel like somebody there.
Wow.
And so he just really talked to those kids in the most professional way, I want to say, but he doesn't have like that tone where it's like, hey guys, don't do that to my daughter. He has that like, yo, why the fuck are you guys messing with my daughter? Wow. Right? So he just turns it on, and he's like intimidating them, but not in a way where it's like dangerous, but he's really letting them know, right? So the next day he goes to the school. I think my mom goes with him too, and they talk to the school about the bullying system and whatever. And now I get this free pass to where I could wear whatever I want. So the school felt like, oh, we're so sorry, we don't want you to press any charges or whatever. So we're gonna give your daughter who wears uniform like every other kid, give her a pass that she can wear anything she wants, right? Super weird. So I'm thinking, so my parents are like, okay, that's great. We don't have to waste money on uniform anymore. That's perfect. Well, yeah, now we stand out even more.
Now you're the single only person.
So you're too cool to wear a uniform now. I see.
It was so bad. So then after that, I was just ready to get out. I would go in, do exactly what I needed to do. I would go to the library, straight to the library. The library became somewhere where I just felt free. Like, I just felt safe. It was like, it's like, I guess this is the worst kind of analogy, but I watch a lot of jail shows and prison shows. So it's kind of like your prison cell, it's your prison cell where you're safe, you're supposed to be safe, and sometimes you'll see people you don't like. The solitary. Exactly. So, the great thing about the library is that there's so many books for you to read, and these books became essentially my friends, or they filled the void of the group that should have been with me in middle school and in elementary school. And I started going to the library more, but I also didn't like the person that I was becoming. I was becoming like very recluse. I was becoming more of an introvert than I wanted to be. And I wanted to change completely in high school. I wanted to be a completely different person, which, by the way, I changed again completely after high school, which is crazy. But anyway, I finished middle school and I entered high school, and I wanted to be different. So I tried out for the basketball team. My dad really wanted me to do soccer. He's like, oh, do soccer. But it was pressed on me so strong that it was a turnoff.
You rebel against it.
It was a turnoff. Yeah. So I did basketball, and ironically, it ended up being one of the best decisions I could have ever made, because it was something I finally had control of, that I wanted for myself, that I got.
Absolutely.
And being in a sport in high school, you get this automatic group of friends, which is your teammates, right? And I was so happy to just finally have a core group of anything, girls and guys. You get to talk to the guys basketball team and the girls basketball team. So it was this community that I had built, or I had walked into. And that same year, I was in student council, and I got into student council. There was this teacher, his name is Mr. DeVore. I went to like some student meeting, and he heard me speak, and he's like, wow, what grade are you in? I'm like, I'm in 9th grade. He was gassing me up, like, you're so advanced. Well, this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm not trying to be a nerd. Like, no, not this
Bro,
way.
I'm already on the basketball team.
Yeah, I was not trying to
fuck with my shine right now.
Trying to get a fresh start. Please don't do this.
That sounds cool, but not.
I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I'm not going to do it. So, because I was advanced, I was so advanced in all my classes, I placed in trigonometry my freshman year. And I was the only...
What it do?
I was the only freshman in a senior class. And the teacher, ironically, was Mr. DeVore. And he's like, are you in this class?
Oh, wow.
You're like, no. Like, yeah, I am in this class. He's like, well, I have a great student council. I think you would be perfect for it. You have leadership ability. I'm just like, oh, I'm doing basketball right now. I'm focused on that. And so he always wanted me to do extra credit. And I told myself that high school, I wasn't going to work on extra credit. I was always really good about being above and beyond, but I just wanted to be completely different. I wanted to change in pace. So,
can I ask you something?
Sure.
In that, like knowing that you wanted to change, right? And I feel like a lot of girls and guys, just like, I feel like in that, like, whether it's elementary to junior high or junior high to high school, we have those moments.
Yeah.
And it's different for kids that live in an area where it's like you naturally have these cliques that kind of develop through the system. Yeah. There's new kids that come in. Like I was always a new kid at like wildly pivotal grades.
Oh my gosh.
But I feel like I want to kind of touch on, so you like in your head, you're like, I want to be different. And you knew you were going in there and you were going to be. What is that like? Like, what was that like for you? Like, kind of not in that moment, but looking back at it, right? In the whole, like, I guess I feel like it's one of those things where it's just like I want to be better, but I like it's with the intent of fitting in.
Right. So you have to bring it down.
Yeah. So what is that at that time? And like, how was that for you to do that? Was it one of those things where it's just like, okay, liberating experience, let's go? Or it's kind of like...
It was a challenge because it's harder to... I know a lot of people might say it's easier to play dumb, but it's a lot harder because it's more work. Yeah. You know, because you know your potential. And if I'm not seeing the results that I know I can do, then it's kind of heartbreaking. You're like, well... is this really what I want? Yeah. And the only way for me to know that at that time was to see what I was getting back with the friends that I was initially wanting to make. That was going to be the answer to whether this is worth it or not. And, you know, I can tell you now, it was worth it. It was worth it. But I didn't have to bring it down as much as I did my freshman year. I didn't have to do that my sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Because on that, though, I was going to ask, too, like, on that same topic.
Yeah.
In middle school, it's so common for kids to fit in. Like you hear this all the time. Yeah. Good kids will do bad shit. You sacrifice like how you really feel about something just to fit in, just to be a part of something. But it sounds like for you all throughout your whole middle school, you actually never dove into that. Or did you?
Yeah.
Were there moments?
Great question. I didn't have to dive into anything because I was already exposed to it. So if it was a flyer party, for example, right? All the kids were into flyer parties or kickbacks. But because I was already experiencing that, not with kids my age, but just with my parents, I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything.
But what about the friends that you could get? Like, hey, I know if I go hang out in the library, I'm definitely not making friends. I'm not like, you know, you're an outsider. You know, you don't fit in. But don't you just want to like go fuck around with that crew to be like, hey, look at me. I could do some bad shit too. Or I can do this, or I could do this. And maybe it's not something you really believe in, but you do it anyway just to be a part of something.
Yeah. You know what? My mom did such a great job at saying, you don't need anybody but me, that I just believed it. And she said, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust anyone. That's something I do wish I wish I wouldn't have been taught that at that age, because when you grow up feeling that you can't trust your peers and you can't trust your classmates, then you start becoming a little paranoid and you start feeling that everyone's against you. Right. So you don't necessarily act like the victim, but you just feel like, I don't want to partake in whatever it is that they're doing, even if it's going to mean that I'm going to get a friendship out of it. And yeah, I think it's really just that. Like, she just did a really good job at saying, like, you don't need anybody. I do wish I would have gone to some of those flyer parties, hindsight, because some of those friends that I would have made in middle school, I made in high school.
It's crazy. I mean, there's so many times where, like, I know I was like, I definitely should not be doing this. I don't want to do this. Yeah. But I'm going to do it just because I don't want to be the dude that's like fucking square or loser, like things like that.
But you know what? I feel like she did it in a way that she made herself seem cool. You know how some people are really embarrassed that like, my mom is my friend. I was really proud of it. Like, my parents did such a good job at making us feel like they were our age and they understood. They put us in karate classes and we had swim lessons, and we were really young. And keep in mind, when you grow up in like Compton, for example, you don't get those experiences. We had to go to Lakewood, we had to go to Cerritos, which was like the white area or the best area. And, you know, that's how we were able to take advantage of these experiences.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much of a privilege it was then to take advantage of those opportunities that my peers and classmates had never even heard of. Like, oh, you're swimming? We don't have a pool in this school. How are you swimming? Or you're going ice skating? What is that? Are you going to the mountains? No, I'm not. It's things like that you're not exposed to, you know?
Yeah.
And so in high school, I wanted to take advantage of all of that, right? I wanted to make sure that I was taking advantage of the friendship. Not necessarily the parties, but just the friendships.
Right.
That was really important to me. More important than getting an A. And freshman year, I became freshman class president, but it was by default. Like, no one had to vote for me. Like, there was no.
You were the only one running.
There was only one running. There was Mr. DeVore made
Hi,
it.
guys. I just want to let you know this is Denise Jones, and I want to be your class president.
Like, the freshmen don't care.
What you don't realize is there's nobody else, so I'm here.
We're here, baby. Mama!
We already made it, but we good. Mr. DeVore, thank you.
It was that. It was that.
I'm here. You know Denise.
It was that. It was, you know Denise before you know Denise. So I became freshman class president. And off the back, I loved the community in that leadership class. Because it was kids that wanted to make school a better experience. It wasn't like your nerdy kids, and it wasn't like, you know, the athletes or anything like that. It's
actually like the pinnacle kids.
Yeah. It's
like the staple students.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The smart
But that is still cool, though.
It's cool because they make school cool.
Yeah.
You know, they take care of the dances. They take care of, you know, all the lunch activities, and they bring in guests. So they play a big role. Anyone who's in student council plays a big role, but I was really still focused on sports. Like, all right, this is exactly what I want to do.
And you were doing sports growing up, like say karate and swimming. So you were already like athletic?
I was already athletic, but I didn't have like that team because
you would never know it if you saw the rolly bag.
You would never know
she
it.
Was damn
you
athletic.
would never know I could really like drop kick you or something.
Yeah, no, the rolly bag was like, yo, that's filled only with books. My life is books. That's it. Like, get your soccer ball. Know. Like, I feel you. That's over there. Yeah. The rolly bag books, please. Like, you collect books. You like slanging books.
It was a lot of that. So you're right. You would never know. And so sophomore year came, and I was still in the same things. Junior year, same teacher was like, you should run for student body president, right? And I'm just like, student body president, that's what seniors do. Like, I definitely don't have anywhere near the popularity of a senior, let alone a junior in my class. He's like, you know, but you have everything that it takes, you know, just go for it. So sometimes all it takes is somebody just really,
Absolutely.
For a long time, my mom was that person that, Denise, you can do absolutely anything. She never, ever held back from saying anything. Keep in mind, she finished her GED. She was in sales. She was in customer service and sales for 10 years. Then she went through like this early midlife crisis or something. So she got into makeup, and she wanted to be a makeup artist. And then that didn't work. So she went into nursing, and then nursing was like cool, and she did it for a few years, but then she got back into makeup. So she was always like, never gave up, never, always followed her passion.
Indecisive.
So, very indecisive. And it showed us that you can still live a great life being that way. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have to stick to one thing. Yeah. So her constantly saying like, oh, Denise, you can do absolutely anything. You can do anything. You can do anything is cool. But when you have somebody else telling you that, it makes it that much more like truer.
Yeah. Very validating.
You know? Yeah. So.
And if they build that kind of rapport.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you had already built that. Yeah.
Yeah. You had the trig scenario where, you know what I mean? Then you were the candidate, the only candidate. Yeah. But he obviously built some like trust with you and just like belief.
Exactly.
And it had to have felt good. Just coming from that. I guess that like.
Well, there's always that one teacher.
Yeah.
I think everyone has that one teacher that's like. Yeah. That gets you, and it's like it's just you. It's something that's is validating, but it's empowering too.
Absolutely,
you feel like you have a deeper connection that's only yours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, he might have been like that with everyone, but like he singles you out, and like I've had those influential. You've had the influential teacher,
absolutely,
the one.
Yeah,
you know.
I think he was that. He was absolutely that. So I ran my junior year, right? I knew I wasn't going to get it, but he believed in me, and I sure as hell did not get it. So, and it hurt. It hurt because I was just like, man, I really tried, just embarrassed myself. I ran against like these seniors, and here I am as a junior. So I ended up filling in the only open position left, which was like, I think House of Reps or something like that. But come my senior year, I was going to run for student body president. And seeing as I was the only one that ran my junior year, I just felt like no one else should run against me. You guys didn't run your junior year like I did.
Yeah, y'all behind the curve. Where
you know? Yeah. So, but I still didn't have the popularity. I had my girls, my basketball girls, and they were cool. But if you think about it, student athletes don't vote. They'll vote if you push them, but they're not the first ones to vote. Yeah. And so I didn't know that.
And think about it like just in general pop culture though. Like the youth doesn't vote. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like you have to be compelled or like willed to vote, if you will.
Yeah. And so it was exactly that. I got a really early experience with that. And so my senior year I ran, and I was going up against a guy who was the captain of the water polo team. I was also on the swim team, but I was more passionate about basketball. Word. So he's the captain of the water polo team. Got class flirt. It was just
I hate this guy.
I fucking hate that.
It was that guy. Yeah. It was that guy.
Class flirt. Class flirt. Good for you, buddy. Great for you, class flirt. I get it.
Like for real.
And the other girl that was running, she was the overachiever. I thought I was an overachiever until I met her. She's like vice president of the Key Club, president of the kids with special needs. Yeah. She was the ones that they all vote.
You literally copied off of her best friend because like y'all were cool. Not her because she disowned the best friend, but it's like kind of like, yo, you know.
It was exactly that. So she had like the kids that actually vote. He had the girls, and here I am with the girls that are my girls, but they don't vote, and the guys don't vote either. And I wasn't like, I was in no relationship. I didn't have a high school sweetheart. I didn't have any I didn't have a bad rep, but I also had no rep.
Word.
Right. So I was like, man, I really have to take things up a notch. I don't know what I'm going to do here because I don't have the money that she does. She was having like the parents bake her cookies.
They threw money into it.
Stop.
It was that. And I didn't have that. I didn't have money for that.
She was ADD Taylor Swift before that even existed. You know what I mean? Like you had, it was forced upon you. You're kind of like, okay, you're talented, but like, you're just like, I don't know about you.
Yeah, it was really, I was just like really, and it sucked because she was cool until we started running. Then it was like, all right, we ain't, I guess we're not friends right now or whatever.
Daddy, Denise is running against me.
No, she didn't even come from money. She just knew how to work things.
Word.
Yeah.
So she went to like politics. The fucking PTSA meetings and was like,
it was that.
Mrs. Reynolds, your cookies are phenomenal. Can we have those?
It was that. So, and then they dropped this bomb on us, like, you guys can't use any school supplies for your campaign. The hell is that? And that's because we were going through budget cuts with LAUSD, so they had to keep everything. So the internet was still fresh. We had Safari in our computer lab.
You were on straight Netscape Navigator.
Yes, exactly, Netscape. Exactly that. I forgot about Netscape. It was that. Yeah. And so I'm searching away like just campaigns, right? And I told my mom, I'm running for student body president, and this is kind of a big deal. And she's like, all right. So she buys me this speech book. Bless her heart. It was like 50 greatest speeches of all time. But it's like, Mom,
it's amazing.
It's amazing now. But if you're running, those kids don't want to hear that stuff. They don't understand half of the vocabulary in there.
4 and so.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was.
I was just thinking that's 80 and 7 years ago.
Yeah.
My underclassmen.
Yeah. I have a dream.
It is with great honor that I'm privileged to speak with you all.
Well, I bet you those were the speeches.
Those were the speeches in the book for sure. And so I told her, I was like, I really want to do this. She's like, all right, well, let me know if you need any help. At no moment did I ever feel like I wanted to ask my mom for money because I knew we weren't in that position, right? So shout out to Netscape. I was able to just get the answers that I needed. I went to a meat market and I purchased a big roll of butcher paper there, the ones that they used to roll up the meat. Hindsight, I could have just gone to an art supply store, but we didn't have those growing up. I didn't know what an art supply store was aside from like the art room in my school.
I would have never.
Michael's was not in the neighborhood.
Michael's was not in the neighborhood.
And John's was probably still there as Vaughn's second cousin.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any like Terry art supply store.
No.
Michael's.
We
nephew.
had Anna Linens as the arts.
That just doesn't sound like somewhere you'd walk into.
It's not. You walk in there for fabric, so you find a lot of grandmas in there. It's really cool though.
Respect.
But but yeah, so there's no art supply. So I went to a meat market and I got some butcher paper there. My dad, he worked in construction, so he would come home with the randomest things. And one of the things he came home with was a roll of Postal Service stickers. And it was about like, I want to say this size, maybe a 5x8. It was a 5x8. And I was able to fit 2 cups on there, right? And I traced the cups and I cut them into these stickers, right? And I created this thing called toilet talk. So while people are sitting down, I had people just read the things. I saw you had like a little toilet book there. So it's exactly that. Ahead of its time there.
It's straight up.
So while people were sitting down, this was, again, mind you, before cell phones were a thing.
Yeah.
Or, something that you now
a game of Snake wasn't going to be that important when you see something looking straight at you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You're not going to waste your battery or anything on that. So I had toilet talk like, hey, while you're sitting down, just make sure to vote Denise Jones for ASB president. Now, remember, for a long time, I hated my last name. Absolutely despised it. But this time around, it stood out. So it became something I was really proud of for the first time at 17.
What was that?
Because no one had it. No one had that last name. And it just felt like, screw it. I don't have anything. I had to give everything that I had. And at that moment, it was that last name.
Are you keeping up with the Joneses or what?
Yeah, it was that.
You
That was good. That was good.
No, you have your campaign manager right here.
That would have been good a couple years ago. That would have been good. So I had like that. I had the toilet talk. I had over every water fountain, I had drinks on me. It wasn't really on me.
That's
but
lit, though.
I
feel you. That's vision, though.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you're hitting the spots that people are going to.
Yes, I'm hitting all those spots. And then I bought number 2 pencils because I knew you needed that for a test. And I got them at the 99-cent store. I had a black Sharpie, and every freaking pencil I wrote "Vote Jones for ASB president." So everything had my hand in it, including the stickers. The stickers said voted Jones, and they had like a little check mark, and they were really creative. Everything was really different and color coded. And with the butcher paper, I created these big posters that my teammates were able to help me put up. And I would get there to school really early to post them up. So when the students started coming in, they were like, "Oh my God, like vote Jones or Jones for president." You forget about Denise. It was just Jones, like Jones for president. People started calling me Jones, and it was really cool.
What it do, Jones?
It was really cool.
Jones, toilet talk. What time? All right, I'll be there.
It was that. I was so proud of it.
Incredible.
For the first time, I was so proud of my last name. And that moment, till this day, plays a huge role in my life, because at that moment, I realized how much I was willing to put into something that I really wanted. So it was like energy. It was work. It was a lot. It was a lot. And losing didn't cross my mind, right? So then I had to write my speech, and my speech was amazing. I didn't want to put in like a hip hop quote like all the other girls did. I wanted to stand out. So I was really talking. I wasn't making false promises. Like I was really talking like a regular person, right? And I invested a lot of time in that speech. So come the results, when we get to see who made it or whatever, I go and I'm walking so slow, and it's on the student council door, and I see my name, and I was just like, I celebrate quietly. Where I'm just like,
Mama!
I was so happy.
Celebrating quite.
If y'all didn't realize that, we're all celebrating very fucking quietly, okay?
It's like the quieter, the hyper.
Yes.
It was all of that and some. It was all of that and some. And I was so proud of that moment. But at no moment did losing really cross my mind. So even though I was walking slow, I didn't feel like their campaign.
You had your chest out, huh?
Yeah, I didn't feel like their campaigns measured up to mine.
Jones was walking up.
Jones was walking up.
The Jones campaign.
Yo, I was
ran by Denise Jones.
I was so happy.
But it was the Jones campaign.
Yeah.
Let's not get it fucked up.
I was so happy. But that moment, I didn't know then was going to play such a role in what I do now. Because that's, I market. I market different talent. I market myself. And I'm constantly creating these ideas, and I'm a self-starter. I was a self-starter then at 17. So I didn't know, I could make a career off of that. So
what's crazy, and sorry to interrupt,
no, you're
but
good.
This is going polar opposite extremes. You went from the girl in literally lunch in the bathroom to
toilet talk.
Jones.
Yeah.
Jones
President.
toilet talk. Yeah.
And
the kids smoking cigarettes were probably smoking cigarettes, having toilet talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they probably were.
but just that
with
arc.
no rolling backpack
With
snitches.
I didn't have a rolling backpack in high school. I told myself I was going to have
You
that.
better not have.
But I wanted a JanSport so bad, and I had an Everest. For you guys that don't know, the Everest is like $5.
Yeah, no, but respect
I
though.
feel that.
Everest is like JanSport's cousin.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It really
It's
is.
like Jansport.
It is.
Or Sam Sport. I feel like.
Shout out to
I feel you. But that arc though, like the arc that you experienced is insane as a person. Like confidence, your last name, your identity, like where you fit in. You're like running shit now.
I kind of feel where you're coming from right now. Do you think that it was one of those slow builds, or were these like distinct moments where you equipped yourself for something along the way and went forward, equipped it, and it was kind of a culmination there?
I think it was slow builds. Because I had no intention of even going there. I really, at the end of the day, I just wanted a core group of friends. I just wanted to feel wanted, and I wanted to feel like I was somebody. It sucks to feel, and that's why I feel like, I can really relate to the kids that are very quiet and very to themselves, because they've gone through life the hardest. And I feel like when you go through something like that, we were talking about this earlier, it's much better that you go through that early on.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to go through that, life is tough experience in my 20s or in my 30s. Like, I was able to show myself how resilient I really am, and I can be, and I can just move on from situations. Like, it's tough now, and it was really tough then. And things, by the way, as you get older, they only get tougher.
Yeah.
But to see that at a young age and see how strong you are and how resilient you are, and how, you can go from hating yourself to as much as you possibly can, to where you just want to disappear, to now loving yourself and embracing who you are. And that's why, today, if I don't feel like I come across as arrogant, but I'm very, very proud of myself and my growth,
you've become,
and who I've become, because it took so long to get here. It took so long to get self-love, and it's something that I'm still working on.
Hold on, I think we need this round of applause for what you've done.
I mean, it also, like, the crazy part, just to acknowledge, is that it could have gone the opposite way.
Absolutely.
Like, when you're a teenager, it's such a formative time where,
Absolutely.
like, not only are your hormones and everything, but like there's such a bigger divide amongst people. And you could easily just be like, fuck it, it's not in my, like, I guess a good life isn't in my cards. So I'm just going to continue this and get worse and worse and get introduced to drugs, get introduced to alcohol.
Escape.
Get on a real level. And the older you get, it just becomes more and more. And that spiral keeps going. And it's very hard and challenging to, it takes a lot of work that you have to put in to not do that. It just has to be acknowledged that there is that other side that's very real for a lot of people. And you hear about that.
And especially like in high school and the junior highs, it's like, it's wild, because I feel like all of us go through this arc where, we have these experiences in high school. Whether whether you're the nerdy, smart kid that hangs out at the library, or whether you're the athlete that's cool with everybody, or the athlete that's strictly an athlete, or like the nomad kid that like is cool with everybody. One of the craziest things about those years is like, if you look at it, like the wildest shit is like a lot of the cool kids, for the sake of being cool, in these high schools, wherever the region is, right? But a lot of these kids like build this entitlement young and end up being like your glorified community college goer in said city.
Yeah, it was like you
know what I'm
in
saying?
high school, you were the man,
and
homie.
You end up having this scenario where the kids that like have always been kind of battling that and like want something, you know, whatever the degree is. But it's like, I feel like just like one PSA to just kids in general, if you're in high school, like understand this. All of that clicking and all those things, look, it magnifies and it gets less relevant as you get older.
Absolutely.
But one of the biggest things outside of the confines of academia is you find yourself, or you begin to really like build on yourself and your likes. And instead of being accepted, like you attract whoever your squads are. You know what I'm saying? You're
not wasting time with like energy that's not needed. You're not looking for friends. And I feel like things happen for a reason. I feel like though I wish middle school could have been different, I'm very glad it was that way because I didn't have to force friendships because I couldn't. I wasn't in a place where I could, you know. And I feel like in high school, absolutely, you hit that right on the nail. It's that situation where the unpopular kid isn't. It's not anything you think it's gonna be. It's not a title that anyone really knows what comes with it. Yeah. You know, and it's like getting 100. It's like winning the lottery. It's exactly that. It's like winning the lottery. So you're so happy with the gains that you get and the wins that you get, but everything that comes with it, the backlash, you know, people lose friendships. A lot of the people that win the lottery commit suicide because it's just so stressful. Yeah. You know, and it's this pressure that I don't know why we make it seem so important that high school has to be the best time and this, that, and the other, and it's not. Yeah. It's hard. It should be hard, you know. And one thing that I really wish I would have learned in high school is just how to be in tune with myself and relate to my emotions, connect with my emotions a lot better than I did, because I wouldn't have to deal with hatred and self-love. You know, my parents couldn't teach me that. Yeah. My parents gave me a lot of love, both my mom and dad. But I didn't feel comfortable telling them, Mom, I don't like myself. Because they're going to think off the back, oh my God, I have to put her in therapy, or what are we doing wrong? And it's going to become a problem. So, and how do you teach a kid that? You know?
It's wild. I don't think you can. I just think it's one of those things where it's like looking through how we've lived, and like whether it's myself and the stories or even like close friends. I think as parents, look, as kids we make choices, but as parents also, like me looking at what I went through and just like what a lot of my friends and peers have gone through. At the end of the day, the best thing you could do as a parent is establish an open line of communication.
Absolutely.
Right? So for better or for worse. Because if you're a friend, and like, look, at the end of the day, one thing that I love about my parents is like they set the precedent of what was good and what was bad, but they also gave the freedom to experience those things and verbally said it like, look, this isn't God's word here, right? This is what we feel. You're going to need to figure it out, but also know that we're here for you. So it's like, it was one of those scenarios where, yes, we still naturally keep some things closed, but to be able to know that, like, if I go tell my mom or my dad something, they're not going to freak out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they're kind of going to be like, all right, come here. We got to talk now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It makes it way more open, because you kind of go through high school and like you have the dad that is very strict on his daughter about boyfriends, girlfriends, and she's giving head in the bathroom in the 6th grade. Absolutely. You feel what I'm saying? And like all these different things. But if it's the opposite, and I feel like it all comes down to just communication.
Absolutely.
Right? Just being like, look, I can't know what you're going through. There's some things that I don't understand in this day. Like, I always wonder myself, like, damn, okay, I thought, like, my parents didn't know a lot of things, but, like, what am I not going to know? Like, how am I going to be behind as a parent? Right. Right? Or Kat's going to be, like, driving a fucking drone, and I'll be like, watch the speed limit in the aerospace. But, but to be able to openly communicate, whether it's with your peers or your child, like, I think that's really what sets that apart, because just like we as kids don't know as we're going through the process, a lot of times for parents, it's like they don't know either. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that really dictates the level of, I guess, internal strength that a kid has. And, you know, whether it's developed or not, like, that's the beauty of life, man. We live and we learn.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So you're building all this confidence, right? Bit by bit, block by block. You're with the basketball girls. you're swimming, you're really in, you found your place. And this kind of student body and just this role and this responsibility has really piqued your interest. Take us through actually getting it and was it all that you could have thought it would be? Was it something where it was like, all right, student body, and now we lit, like pizza Thursdays, fucking In-N-Out truck coming in, like I told y'all, you know what I'm saying? Was it one of those things where it was outside of the fact that it was an accomplishment? Was it something that had piqued your interest? Because I feel like that's a very pivotal moment there, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's not what I thought it was going to be, but at the same time, I didn't think much about it. I just wanted to be the leader. I just wanted to be number one. That's all I wanted to be. And I didn't think about the responsibilities that came with it.
Respect.
You know?
Shit, I vote for Jones too.
I just want to win. It's just you just want to get there.
Yeah, I just wanted to win. I wanted to be number one. I feel that comes with being the oldest. When you're the oldest, you place this responsibility on yourself. You have to be the best. You have to be the best, and there's no second. You know, that's the middle child. There's no excuse for you not getting whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you work for. And so when I actually got it, no, it was not what I thought it was going to be. There's no, you don't really have, and let's face it, I mean, it's just a position where that the school needs to say that, hey, this is the student that's going to communicate to the student body. But at the end of the day,
developing pivotal skills in leadership, organization, structure.
At the end of the day, it's like, it's your administration running things, and it's, you know, that your advisor running things. So you're really just the one that listens and communicates it back in your student tone, right? So I would have to attend meetings, these really, really long meetings, once a month. I would have to say the announcements. I didn't really have say in my senior class because that's the senior class president's job. So I was really kind of just kicking back. Like I was just the face, and it kind of sucked, but at the same time, it wasn't too bad because there wasn't responsibility. But being number one, being the student body president, meant that, you know, at least I thought I've worked hard so long. I had a 4.0 GPA that it's just like, I'm going to go to whatever school that I want. Right. My parents were making an amount of money that was not anywhere near a lot, but to the government, it's like, you can't do FAFSA. Right. And I didn't have scholarships. I only had one scholarship.
Oh, they couldn't do it.
I couldn't do FAFSA. Like I didn't qualify.
That's wild.
It's so weird. Yeah, it was so weird. And so I was pissed because that meant I would have to go to community college. How does the student body president, how do you take me from a high all the way down like it's a Superman ride at Six Flags? Like I crashed. I felt like a failure going to community college, going to junior college. My mom went to junior college, so I wanted to be better. I wanted to go to USC. I wanted to go to UCLA. I didn't even apply to like Cal States. I was just focused on the privates and the UCs.
And you just couldn't get the loans.
And I couldn't get the loans. I couldn't get the ones that I wanted. And I didn't want to, there was a few loans that I could have done.
Yeah, and
but the interest was ridiculous. So
shit, I'm still paying one right now.
It was ridiculous. So then I did community college, but I hated it because the school would put your names like, oh, where are the seniors going to college?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's the worst.
And I was TBA.
Killer.
I was TBA.
Oh my God.
And I'm the first person on there because they put student council first.
Now, did you get into schools?
I didn't know. I didn't.
Oh,
I applied to.
Apply?
I applied to two.
Okay.
I applied to SC and LA, and I didn't get in. And I felt like a failure. And then my FAFSA didn't follow through. So I was just like,
no,
this is not looking good. So I was going to community college. Right, that was it. That was what I was gonna do. And it sucked because how does the student body president, how do you go from doing all this, putting in all this work, building this relationship in the library and becoming a nerd and exiting out of that phase, but still being smart and taking all these advanced courses, doing all this extra work to go to a college that, you know, your average 2.0, 1.7, you know, student went to.
That's so frustrating. That must be so fucking frustrating.
Yo, you like have no idea.
You almost feel like there's like a bit of regret, like, okay, if I knew this was this,
absolutely,
fuck it, I'm wilding out.
Yeah.
I don't need to do all that.
For real.
So that's kind of exactly what happened in a sense. So as soon as I graduated from high school, I started doing the flyer parties and doing all the things that I should have done when I was, you know, maybe like 16, 15, 16. So I went to flyer parties and I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I expected it to be. Like, it sucked. Especially when you're 18 and it's like you're seeing 14-year-olds like do Nas balloons. And there's weed smoking and the music is like hella like it's just sounding like the speaker blew out.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what am I doing here? And it's at this abandoned warehouse. Keep in mind, these are underage kids.
Yeah.
So
it's not like, tight.
It's not tight.
Yeah.
What's
like,
the point?
They got like clicks going.
At all.
Like, not lit though.
What's the point?
You know what I'm saying?
So I did that.
It's just like I remember those. And like cats had like their group names and all this shit. And I'm just like, bruh, y'all are just whack as fuck.
Yeah, it was that. I did that after I graduated thinking, screw it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to a university. And so I did that and it sucked. And then I didn't have a direction for what I wanted to do in college. Being student body president, I was like, okay, well, I'm destined to be president. That's what I want to do. Like, my ambition in life is to be president of the United States, be the first female president. Right? Because I already was.
I mean, look, the Joneses has already been a prominently established campaign. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's about to be.
I was already successful with my campaign, so I felt that's my calling: politics, political science. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I did. I told my mom, I want to be president. I'm gonna go into politics. She's super proud of me. Like, wow, man. She already knew I was like really smart.
That's crazy to say. Like, that's crazy to say. Like, I'm gonna be president.
It didn't sound weird to me though.
No, I know.
I like that.
To me, it sounds like if you said, I don't know. For me,
because you're right. Because you usually say it when you're like 5 or 6. You're like, man, when I grow up, I want to be president. Right? That's what you grow up thinking.
It almost seems like so far-fetched.
Yeah.
That it's like unattainable. I don't know about that. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I was invested. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
So you just understand like the level of confidence of like where your mind is at to even vocalize that and really be serious. Like, no, I want to be president and I'm going to go study this. Like, oh shit, you're like, I wouldn't it feel kind of embarrassing to tell someone like, hey, I want to be president of the United States of America?
I mean, look, like that's one of those things where,
in a weird way, it's like a little like uncomfortable.
Hindsight, I can see. I just never felt that.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
If it's in that, if it's
like,
in that pocket, like you're going for it. Like,
you can't really say shit. But it's
what do you want to be? What are you working towards? I'm gonna be president. Oh,
it's you know what it is because it's probably.
But you gotta hit him with that.
You did. No, that's exactly
like
my
I'm
answer.
gonna be president.
It's one of like the things. It's like one of the quickest things someone could be like, all right, okay. Like that you can easily shut that down.
No, you're right.
Like in just in terms of general. So to actually be that serious, it's such a cool understanding into where your mind was at. Because it's a very fucking rare thing. I've never met anyone out of all my friends that I know that have said that they wanted to be president of the United States.
And I bitch slap any of my boys that like want to be president out of fucking nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, good for you, Playboy. Like, I feel you. You were shooting guard on a CIF championship team. You want to be fucking president now? I feel you. Bitches aren't coming with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real with it. You know what I mean?
You know?
You're not Bill Clinton in the Oval Office. Like, let's get Monica out your mind, player.
Exactly.
You feel me?
Yeah, I totally understand.
I don't know. There's like a fascinating thing about it to be like, even when you said it now, you're like, I wanted to be president, and I'm like, okay.
Listen, you don't believe? Hold on,
you like a company or like
you don't believe my candidate could be president?
I have my campaign manager.
Campaign manager. Anusha's painting the Jones campaign across his wall right now.
Ready.
Bro, go to the bathroom. See if there's toilet talk. What's up?
Toilet talk is very real.
I got a book over there.
There totally is. He has matches too that say "Vote Jones."
Done. We in it to win.
Shit, I was prepared for this one.
But I love that. There had to be pointed that out because it's such a weird kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what? And I never. Again, it's my mom really gave me the confidence that I really needed. So when I built my own confidence, getting that campaign in high school, I was set. Like that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to major in political science and then go into politics, city politics, and then work my way up. And so I was taking a bunch of courses, and I had this professor who was very cultured. He was very, very cultured, and he just taught politics so well. He taught political science so well, but he was so miserable, and he made me hate it. Like not hate the content or everything that came with it, but just the lifestyle that he had.
Yeah.
You know, he
was brutally honest with
He
her,
was
probably.
very honest. He was very honest, and that's something that I really admired. He wasn't like sugarcoating anything like, hey guys,
because a lot of these things are glamorized.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Whether, and especially you're coming into college, like all these career paths, like come with a lot of glamour.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember I was trying to go into law. And then you speak to any lawyer and they're just like, bro, don't do it. Because what you end up finding out is that the law profession is all about billables.
Yeah.
It's like, how many hours are you bringing in? It's not like a case and this, that, and
it's
the other.
It's almost like the business of law.
Yeah. But like at the end of the day, it's all relative.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
It's crazy how teachers can really push us to believe. And I feel like one of those things where like you have that presidency in your mind is a very pivotal point in highlighting the fact of you literally took yourself from nothing to something great, right? And that aspiration that anybody can be president is one of those like American dream-esque beliefs in the United States of America, that anybody can become whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can be president, right? If we're looking at it from a very like goal-oriented view, as opposed to let's take society into account. So what, like, how'd your mind start shifting? Like, what was like, was there a moment there where you started?
No, I really, really loved his class. And that was like the 4th poli-sci class that I took. And I loved his class so much. I went to all the like extra credit field trips or whatever. So I really experienced a lot of court cases with him, and I went to a lot of forums and panels. He really gave us the forefront of poli-sci, right? And for what it was. And he also was very vocal about his personal life and how he wasn't married and how he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. He's been miserable for X amount of years.
There, huh?
Yeah, he's been miserable for an X amount of years, and he was just, you know, really proud of his career, but also questioned if it was even worth it.
So he said that because it was a sacrifice
that
he made. So he's like, if you want to do this, like he's been doing it, but he sacrificed his happiness on that life sense. That's crazy for a teacher to say. I tip my hat off to him, though. I know. That's kind of crazy for a teacher to say.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take it there.
Yeah, no, and he was great. He was great, and I really appreciated his honesty, and it was that made me realize that, well, man, if all my life I really just wanted friendship and peace and happiness, I'm not going to get it with this career, and I can be number one, but what's that going to do, right? And the only reason I decided to even pursue that, on top of getting that campaign and being successful in my campaign in high school, is that I really looked at everything for what it was, and I was really disappointed with not getting FAFSA and not, you know, getting the opportunities that I saw kids get on TV and kids get on shows that I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't grow up with, you know, a backyard. I didn't grow up with people running. I didn't see people running around their block till I moved to the Valley. You know, I was already in my 20s. So I wanted to have everyone to have the same opportunities. I was already thinking with that mindset, like, okay, well, if I'm president, then I can do anything that I want, until I took those classes and realized that you really don't have all the control. There's other positions for that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
The checks and balances start to really come into play.
So
thank God for that, though, right? Especially right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So after that, I kind of hit like this crisis where I didn't know. I was lost. Like, what do I do now? I don't want to pursue basketball. I did basketball my first year of college, and it was cool. It was fun, but I didn't see a future. I was realistic.
No WNBA status.
There was no WNBA. There was a president, but there was no WNBA future.
Respect.
So I was just really lost and thinking like, well, what am I good at? I'm not good at anything. And they tell you in college, like, try everything and blah, blah, blah. But it's so hard because you can't get into the classes that you want. So you're stuck in the classes that you hate. So you just start learning what you don't like, but you feel like you're wasting all this time.
Yeah.
And so I got into psychology because everyone was like, you're going to love psychology, right? And it's true. Everyone loves psychology. I feel like it's so important, even though it's kind of like, I feel like psychology majors don't get the credit that they deserve. I get it. It's a pretty easy
I think it depends on what you're like going in it for.
True.
Right?
That's true.
Like, because there's a lot of people that go into psych and sociology and they're just like, I want the easy, like the planners that like want the easy A to go to law school or whatever.
No, it's exactly that. It's
like,
exactly that.
It's very interesting if you look at it like from a passion point of view of like understanding human behavior and how tribes and cultures are built. Yeah.
It's so important. Don't mind me just here refilling my
not at all
little tea there. But anyway.
Do you want hot water?
No, thank you.
Okay.
So I was really lost, and psychology, everyone was like telling me how good it is. So I took one class, and I had an amazing professor. And he just made life look great. He was everything that the other teacher wasn't. He was teaching the subject, and he was teaching it really well. But he was also talking about his personal life and how happy he was, and he just looked healthy. He was in his 40s, living life, had 4 kids. His wife is beautiful.
Wow.
And he's just this college professor, and I'm thinking, that's the life that I want. That's exactly what I want to do. So I took a bunch of courses with him, and then I started thinking, there's so many different lanes that you can take psychology with. So I wanted to go into sports psychology. I'm a big Laker fan, big sports fan. So I wanted to be the traveling sports psychologist for the Lakers. I wanted them to come to me with their problems. And if it's like key players, I wanted to really straighten them up and be like, hey, you know what? I understand what you're going through. Really empathize and be that person that's like, all right, if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have been there.
Kobe,
you're doing it again.
Kobe, come here. Sit down. We have to talk.
You're doing it again.
I wanted to be, and I grew up with the Kobe era. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's my idol. That's who was a workaholic for me and who made it just okay. And he was confident. So I wanted to be right next to those guys and just be that person that makes a big impact in the way that they move. So I did that. And sports psychology was really cool, but they didn't teach me what I thought I was going to learn with sports psychology. Like, this is how you get to becoming this person. It was just more so you look at what athletes do and you look at why they do the things they do. It's not even you can give any advice or whatever. So after that, I was just like, man, doesn't look like it's
There's
it.
nothing sexy over here, y'all.
It doesn't look like it's it. So I was just kind of like walking down the halls and seeing everything that the school offers. And they had a radio station. WELA. They have a radio station, and it was very old school. Like, this is modern. What we have here
shout out to
is
our
very modern.
I feel you. They're the Home Alone talk boy.
Yeah, the bootstrap modern. We in the mix over here.
It was really not what I thought it was gonna be. You know, I didn't. This is where you guys do radio here. Like, this is old school.
Yeah.
Whatever. So one thing I really admire.
Nails being done emoji just thrown out. Whatever.
I just didn't understand how, this antique of a room was producing
she
radio. I didn't understand it. So, and I every college
stepped up in like a Brady, but like it was built during the Brady Bunch era.
It was bad, guys. But you know what? I do hindsight. It's like there's no funding. There's no funding, so I can't blame. They're working with what they have. Yep. So anyway, I had classes in the morning, and I would listen to Power 106 every day. Power 106. I just loved them for just making my mornings catch me up. This is before Twitter and Instagram. I grew up with it.
Shout out to Big Boy.
Shout out to Big Boy, Liz Hernandez, Tattoo. I really
love Tattoo.
Grew up with those guys.
What up, Tat?
Yeah. I Tito Ortiz, there was a girl named Kool-Aid on there. Yeah. I just really loved everything about the station from morning to night. I loved how it made me feel. I loved the what they got to do. Like, these guys got paid to talk about things that I normally talk about, things that I don't even know, and I just didn't understand. Like, it didn't process to me like, hey, Denise, you can do it too. You can be on the radio too. It just seemed like such a celebrity thing to where it's like, not a celebrity.
Yeah.
How am I going to get up there?
I could be president, but celebrity not.
Yeah. It was that. It was that. The celebrity looked a little too far for me. And so,
but president of the world, I guess.
President, it just seemed attainable.
Right.
It seemed
I'm going to sign an executive order.
I love it.
So I was listening to Power, and I was just like, man, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to do sports psychology anymore. And so I was talking to my mom about things, and she was just like, oh, I was like, we've always listened to Power 106, and we listen to Art LeBeau, right? Art LeBeau weeknights. She's like, oh, maybe you should try being on the radio. And I was just like, doesn't seem impossible now that you said it. So,
wait, say that again?
Sounded kind of nice, right?
There it is.
Sounded really nice. And so she kind of made it. My mom is amazing. Like, there's no limits. There's no ceiling. There's
Incredible.
No sky. She's just really good at letting us do anything that we want to do. So at the time, I was going to college, working at Bank of America. Actually, I was working at Vision Shoes. I was working at a shoe store. I forgot about that.
Lit.
I was working at a shoe store. I was like Al Bundy.
Yo.
Put me in a size 3.
No.
Girl, you're size 7.
It was that. Let me tell you, working at a women's shoe store is next level.
That was incredible, though. Wow. Somebody bring the size 7 for her? I mean 3?
Working at a women's shoe store, it's a lot of that. You really put all your pride aside.
Yeah.
You bring it all the way down.
You got those bunions coming at you, like
no,
fitting into just
No,
like...
you know what? I love my women. More power to them. But
Yeah.
good God, we need to make sure that we're getting pedicures regularly and make sure that our feet are nice and smelling good.
But look, it's like almost a game that females can't win because some of these shoes, especially like...
Oh,
really,
yeah.
like,
It's
off the chain
uncomfortable.
joints,
Absolutely.
like what women go through
Thank you
in
for
putting
acknowledging
these
that.
sexy shoes on. It's like, imagine wanting to kill yourself from the moment you leave in front of the mirror where you've established that like your Giuseppe's are lit or like whatever the fuck.
No, it's
If
bad.
if I was a chickie, I'd be a wedge baddie, just like with wedges on fleek, just like cozy as a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
It's bad. What we have to go through.
Yeah, like
It's like walking
respect
out-
to y'all.
Red bottoms
No.
are cute, right?
Respect
They're really
to y'all.
cute. But they are the most uncomfortable shoe, unless you want to give me a free pair. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
what it do?
But God bless. They're really uncomfortable. Really, really uncomfortable. But
All
anyway,
respect to y'all for like putting your feet through that.
Thank
but
you.
ladies. If your feet's going through that, make sure they re-up when
Please.
you go see the next. You know what I'm saying?
So anyway, women's shoe salesmen go through the most. You have to go through the whole nylon thing. The nails are sometimes too long, so they'd be cutting through the nylon.
that
And
just
so you got to
seems
deal with
wild
people.
as
Exactly
shit.
what he said earlier with that Al Bundy line. You got to deal with people that don't know their size and they're like in this denial. like if I'm telling you something you've never heard before, like. You know, that we didn't sell, it was such a small shoe store that we didn't sell like 12s or something like that. We didn't sell like the ones that they sell at Macy's.
She's doing her silent craziness.
I'm just throwing an emoji out, just like.
I get the silent, like, shit right now.
You know what I'm saying?
Because
Oh man.
you guys do
You know what I'm saying? When they're like,
So anyway, yeah, it was really tough. I'll just end that there. That was really good. That was really good. So anyway, college and the shoe store. I was trying to figure it out. And she's like, oh, you know, you should just apply or you go in there or whatever. I was already such a fan of the radio station that I was going there to win tickets, right? So to pick up tickets. So I would get up to the front desk window and just wonder everything that could possibly go behind the doors there. Everything from like the talent there, the radio personalities there, like everything. I was just super excited to see everyone behind the scenes. And so I called. Oh no, I went there and I said, oh, you know, what do you have to do to apply or whatever to work here? And then she's like, oh, you can call this number. You call the number and I wanted to volunteer. I thought that was the thing. I didn't know what an internship was at the time. Mm-hmm. So I called to volunteer. They're like, oh, we don't take volunteers, but you can take advantage of our internship program if you're a college student. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'm a college student. So I applied. They're like, oh, just submit your cover letter and resume, your application cover letter and resume. I was like, all right, perfect. So I submitted that, right? Didn't get it. And I didn't understand because I was coming in at a high, like, yeah, like I got my student body president thing and I didn't get into college, but anything else that I really tried, I got for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So I did that. and I didn't get it. And I was really discouraged, but I was like, oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know what could have happened. So I tried again the second semester, didn't get it again. Right. And I just didn't understand. I'm a very smart kid at that time because I was a child, or 18, young adult. But I'm really smart. I was, updating my cover letter, adding to my resume. Everything was appealing. Everything was neat. Everything was in one page. The importance of squeezing everything in one page. I was thinking ahead for everything and making their life easier. And so when I didn't get it the second semester, I figured, okay, maybe I'm missing experience. Maybe they need somebody with radio experience off the back because it's Power 106. It's the best radio station in the world. Like, they need the best. So I called every radio station in Los Angeles, from the IE to, the San Fernando Valley to Long Beach, every radio station. And every radio station was owned by a corporation. So that meant that they needed to make sure that their interns were receiving college credit, and they were already 2 into the semester.
Oh, yeah.
To let anybody do it.
That's the worst.
Except for one radio station. This radio station is probably not one you've heard of, but it's KJLH Radio, 102.3, KJLH, Radio Free. It's an R&B and gospel radio station.
Nice.
It's really, really cool. It's on FM dial.
Okay.
But the reason it's smaller than the other ones is because it's owned by one person. It's owned by Stevie Wonder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's owned by Stevie Wonder. So he can literally play anything that he wants almost.
That's amazing.
And he keeps it going. Yeah. So I called. I was like, hey, would love to, take advantage of your internship program. And then they're like, oh, well, we have an internship/volunteer program. I was like, oh, okay, cool. When can I come in? They're like, you can come in on Thursday. Thursday's when we have our meetings. So I came in on Thursday. Being that I'm half black, half Mexican, off the back, I feel like you get this idea of me that I'm just full Hispanic. Right? So I walk in, or maybe I'm just like a light-skinned black who's privileged. Mm-hmm. So I walk in, and it's all age ranges. I'm 18 at the time, but there's like 40-year-olds, and there's like 30-year-olds, there's 20-year-olds.
In the volunteer program?
In the volunteer program.
Oh, wow.
It's not just like, it's not people working at the radio stations. It's literally people like me that just want to be in radio.
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow, this is a really eclectic age range here.
You were expecting to see just like a bunch of young kids.
Yeah, people my age.
Yeah.
And so when I didn't see that, it was like a little strange. And when I walked in, it was all eyes on me. I didn't walk in late. It was just all eyes. Like I was the sore thumb that stood out. And so the internship coordinator there, he looked around the room and he got to me and he's like, oh, are you going to stay for this? And I was like, yeah, just really optimistic. But in the tone that he said it in almost made it seem like you're not going to hang here. Or maybe she comes from like a privileged background and she thinks she's going to be on air off the back. Those weren't my intentions. And I feel like just him saying that, and it was little things. Like he gave me his back during the meeting, and I was kind of, it was really weird. It was really, really strange.
Where do you think that was coming from?
I think partially because that radio station's really all about starting from the ground up, right? And bringing the people all and giving the people an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Giving the black community an opportunity. And off the back, he didn't know my background or my story. So it was almost like, if you look at me, I look silver spoon fed, or to him, I look silver spoon fed. So he thought, oh, she's just another one that wants to be on air.
That wants to be on radio.
Right.
Get in.
And it was nothing like that. Mm-hmm. So I made it my goal to make him my best friend. Rather than feeling intimidated, I was going to show him, not tell him, but show him that I'm nothing of what you think I am. Like, this idea that you have of me is false all the way. Yeah. So I did what I knew how to do, and that's hustle. So I started my mornings early. I was the first person in the office, and I was the last person out, right? And there came privileges with that, because on top of doing street team work, which, by the way, nothing of that is paid for, and I'm not getting college credit. I'm not getting reimbursed for parking. I'm not getting mileage. Oh, wow. I'm not getting food. This is
like the definition of just volunteer, come and...
Yeah. Show up.
Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. There was no, no one's going to, oh, thank you, Johnny, for coming in. No, if you show up, you show up. And if you don't, you don't. There was no one taking log. It wasn't.
It's just literally volunteered help.
Exactly that. Yeah. And so rather than seeing it as oh, this is a pathetic radio experience, I really wanted to take advantage of it as much as I could. So I went to all the events, and then I started making sure that I was needed. Like, hey, do you need, should I go get us, do you need some coffee, or you want me to get you lunch? Like, I made sure that I was being used.
Yeah.
Right. And people are so afraid nowadays. I feel like even interns are so afraid today to feel used because it has such a negative connotation to it. But there's some good in being used.
Yeah, I think it's one of my pet peeves with fucking internships. Like, first of all, interns, anyone listening to this that's going into an internship, you better be happy.
Absolutely.
Happy to get my coffee. Mm-hmm. Like the value, like you better be happy to get the assistant's coffee.
Absolutely.
Like just being.
But explain the bottom line of that, because there's like a silver lining to that
just
concept.
Understanding where you are and getting in the door is number one. Mm-hmm. And it's what you make of those experiences.
Absolutely.
Getting someone's coffee. There was this studio, and this guy who ran the studio, he had, interns come in to be engineers. So the first week he would give coffee orders, and every day it would be a different order. One day this, one day for a week, and that's all you did, or coffee, lunch, whatever. Mm-hmm. All different orders every day. If you messed up once, you were fired. Mm. And that was his way. He'd be like, well, if you can't even get my order correct, how the fuck are you going to be able to engineer this A-list artist record?
Yeah.
And you pick and choose what you want to take pride in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You could get someone the best coffee and show up and have the best attitude and make their day starting out the jump and add value. If that's the most value you're adding, that's more than zero. Mm-hmm.
I think the silver lining in that is if you're going to start somewhere from the bottom, nothing should be too small for you. Mm-hmm. That's the concept.
Dude,
that I feel like you were going with there. And also, like, even like shout out to this coffee scenario is that when you're an outsider coming into an established tribe, if you will, right? Not only do you have to like be willing and able and go for it doing everything, but you also have to pay attention to the most minute details. Oh, like if you're going to start something up, like how the fuck would I feel comfortable as your superior putting you in a position where like you're actually now working for us if you haven't shown that? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and yes, a lot of kids are entitled, and yes, it's that and the other, but like, there are those that want it so bad that, look, at the end of the day, nothing is guaranteed for any of us, right? Mm-hmm. But the simple fact that somebody can intern, whether it comes with complete triumph and trials and tribulations, or it's gotten through a finesse or just time, but like, at any step in a path, especially in the early stages, understand this, like, there's a reason you're being asked to go get coffee, right? Because if you're too big to go get coffee, like, where the fuck are you at?
Man, just to that exactly, one of my favorite quotes of all time, I worked at Banana Republic. And
thank God it wasn't Abercrombie, bro. Like, yes, you're like hella swollen up right now, but I don't know, like a fucking Icelandic fucking warrior. You know what I'm saying?
I was working late one night.
Yeah.
And the manager, it was just me and the manager. We were the only ones there shutting down the store. Mm-hmm. I went to go clean the bathroom. Like, I was on my way to the bathroom, just like, okay, clean it up. That's one of the things you got to check off the list. Yeah. And he's like, no, I got it. You go handle the register. I'm thinking, like, you're the manager. I'm like just the fucking sales guy. Mm-hmm. I was like, you sure? Like, shouldn't you be handling the register? And immediately, just like without even hesitance, he said, if you're too big to do a small job, you're too small to do a big job. And
that's good.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
If you're too big to do a small job, you're too small to do a big job.
That's good.
And that's stuck with me ever since. And that's like the through line of that thing. And I think it's so true. You can be running a business, but you're still responsible for making sure the walls are clean, anyway.
Yeah. And no, that's perfect and I feel like walking in, when you come from where I come from, everything is a win. Yeah. Everything is a win. right? Because there's nothing lower than that. And I didn't want to go back to that. I could always fall back and go to my mom's house and go back to living in, you know, and still continue living in Compton. But that was never, like, I wanted to get out. I wanted to do something different. And working in Burbank or interning in Burbank really changed that for me. But before that, I was in KJLH. So KJLH is in Inglewood. For those that don't know, it's on Manchester and La Brea. I think those are the cross streets. It's beautiful, but it's also really hood. It's like in a really hood part of Inglewood, right? And walking in, if you're not from a community that's similar to that, it's intimidating. So anyway, so being there, I really just wanted to, it came naturally for me to hustle. Like, I didn't feel privileged, or I didn't feel like, oh, I'm too good for this, or no, I'm not going to do this. Like, anything you needed, shoot, if you needed me to get you toilet paper because there's out, I'm going to go run and get that. That's the mentality that I had. So, and I had so much to prove, I had so much to prove that I'm down for absolutely whatever, just because I felt like I wasn't giving the respect that I now demand when I walk into a room. Mm-hmm. And it, you know, him telling me that really was like a challenge. And it was a challenge that he didn't even know that he placed, right? So I worked really hard. Anything that he needed, I was there. I made sure that I was being used in the right way. And then at night, I would stay and help out with the night show or anything that they needed at night, whether it's, you know, just watching, just being a fly on the wall. Mm-hmm. Honestly, as an intern, just being a fly on the wall is the biggest compensation you can ever get.
Yeah.
It's the biggest compensation you can ever get, because you're getting stuff. You're witnessing things. You're watching people speak, seeing their mannerisms, how they act on radio, how they act off the mic. Like, there's so much that comes with it that you just don't ever get to see when you're just listening in your car, or you're just listening in your Walkman, you know? So I was just grateful for every opportunity. And I ended up building this really cool relationship with this guy, the marketing director there. And he just really, I was like his go-to person. Like, oh, Denise will take care of this, or oh, she'll cover this event, or X, Y, and Z. While I was doing that, I also, Twitter was just popping off. Like, Twitter was born. And I was, like every, you know, teenager, that's the first thing that you get on. And there was this lady who was from the East Coast, who was looking for correspondence, West Coast correspondence, right? I didn't know what a correspondent was, but I Googled it. And it's just like, well, now I know, you know, it's somebody who can cover events, cover carpets and whatever, and put it on her blog. I didn't have to write anything. All I had to do was cover the event, right? Mm-hmm. So I was at KJLH. I was at ELAC. I was working now at the bank. I'm working at Bank of America. And I have this little side gig that lets me really get a front row seat of the entertainment industry, just going to these events. My first event ever was like Lala's birthday brunch.
Wild.
And nice. I was like 18 at the time, and I'm just thinking like,
whoa. Silent celebrations happening. Silent celebrations are taking place, y'all.
I was like,
they're going on. We just wanted to let you know they were.
I have a bad habit of silent.
It's lit though. You can celebrate all you like. In this moment, we'll just bring it to light. You know what I'm saying?
That's perfect. So I was at Lala singing. I was just super geeked. Like, this lady, what I've never met. I didn't even FaceTime her or anything. She just emailed me. I emailed her. She had me email me her resume. I emailed her my resume and my cover letter, and she just trusted me. Never met her. Wow. To this day, I've never met her.
I love the internet.
Wild.
She just trusted me. And so I covered all her events, took pictures, did interviews. I had no experience whatsoever. And she just kind of trusted me and gave me that opportunity. So shout out to her. Her name is Fresh. Shout out to Fresh, man. Whoever you are,
wherever
Fresh.
you are.
It's like Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so I was doing
Hello,
that.
Denise. It's Fresh.
Here's your event this weekend.
You will be at the Beverly Hills Hotel at 2 p.m. Have fun.
Sincerely, Fresh.
Low-key, she could have been setting me up, hindsight, because I didn't know about any of these things.
Word.
She'd just tell me what to do, and I just do it.
Awesome.
I just trusted her. But anyway, so at KJLH, though I wasn't paid or compensated for my time, I was grateful for the experiences that I got there and the people that I got to meet. And meanwhile, being there, I was still focused on Power 106. Like, that's still what I wanted to do. I never got comfortable.
Gig.
Yeah, I never got comfortable and forgot, like, oh wait, what about Power? That's still like in the back of my mind. So I applied twice, got rejected. Now I'm at KJLH and I'm getting all this experience. So I apply a third time to Power 106 and I'm like, hey, I've built this relationship with the internship coordinator there. And I'm just like, hey, you know, good talking to you again. I'm submitting my application for this semester. I really hope I get it. I have more experience now. I'm at another radio station, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, Denise, great hearing from you. Definitely, hopefully you hear from us soon. We'll let you know if you got it in a week. Didn't get it. I didn't get it again. And I just didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. If all I was trying to do was help for free. So I still kept hustling at KJLH. That's still what at the end of the day, that's the only radio that I got.
Yeah.
So I was running with that. And it was the only thing that I will say that kept me sane. Do you know what that means? Because when you're a college student, you're stressed in school and you have your job and you're stressed at your job and you're at home and you have your personal problems at home, right? And you have one thing, hopefully you have one thing. For some people, it's sports. For other people, it's, you know, getting messed up. You know, whatever it is that keeps you sane, it's so important to keep that. And for me, it was radio. It was that time there. That's
your dream was tangible.
Exactly. So I didn't want to, at no moment, though I wasn't getting paid and I was investing a lot of time in it. Mm-hmm. At no moment did it ever cross my mind, like, okay, Denise, you have to let go of some things. I was more willing to let go of the bank and school than to let go of something that wasn't even paying me. That's how passionate I was about just being in that environment, you know, and it kept me really, really, I had friends there that wanted to be in radio. You know, I built this relationship with some people that I still talk to today, you know.
You need to have something that drives you, that wakes you up in the morning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was that. Absolutely, that was that. And so while at KJLH, there was another mentor that I made along the way, and I shared a lot of the same. I felt like he was like me in the future, right? Like he was just me, and I could be like him. He was mixed. He was in radio, and he was in hip hop radio. Now he's in R&B radio, and he has a family. And I'm just thinking, like, wow, you know,
it could be done.
That could be me.
Yeah,
and I told him, like, you know, I want to be at Power and this and the other. And he kind of just always brushed it off. But I never realized he was brushing it off because we were always doing things, mm-hmm. right? And so whatever, time goes and I apply at Power one more time, right? And I'm saying one more time because this is the time that I get it. So I applied a fourth time. I submit my cover letter, resume, and application. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's nothing that I haven't seen before. Everything is different, but it's not that different, right? And so what makes this occasion special than the others is that, again, Twitter was popping off right now. And one of the radio personalities there, their overnight guy, tweeted, hey, I'm looking for bloggers. If you're interested in an internship, mm-hmm. if you're a college student looking for an internship, you know, apply here. This is like 2 a.m. I'm doing my last scrolls. I'm in bed, like, comfortable as hell. And I'm thinking,
shout out to the last scrolls, low-key.
Those last scrolls are key. So those are key, man. Those are so key. And so I was just thinking, like, I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual, and I really do believe in signs, right? So I'm thinking, man, God, is this a sign that, you know, should I apply? Do I get up from bed? I've already submitted myself a fourth time. Should I do it again? So I got up, took a screenshot of that. I didn't reply to the guy. I emailed the internship coordinator there, and I referenced a tweet. So I was like, hey, I've already submitted my application and my cover letter, but, you know, I saw one of your radio personalities was looking for bloggers, and I would really aspire to be like this individual. He's very young, and he's like, I think he was was the youngest radio personality there at that time. Wow. So I just felt like that's perfect. Like, this is my opportunity. Yeah. So she's like, oh, okay, great. I'll make sure to relay the message. So sure enough, no one else referenced that tweet. So my application gets bumped all the way to the top. Yeah. And I'm just happy as heck.
You scroll. Like,
those last scrolls are a win. Those last scrolls are a win for sure. And it was that moment that just, you just never know. That's I don't know if you guys have seen that picture of this old man, like, digging. And he gives up, and he's so close to getting what he wants, but he just got tired and he gave up. Like, that's it. I felt like that could have been that moment. And I always think about that whenever I feel like quitting or anything. I've never quit anything in my life. And so I've always finished. and even if it's mentally. So anyway, I put my application on top, and she's like, hey, I put your application right on top. This guy's really interested in you. He's going to be giving you a phone interview soon in the next couple of days.
Nice.
You're just
geeked.
like,
finally.
After 4 semesters.
Finally.
This was like that ASB president thing. Silent celebration.
Finally.
I was geeked.
Oh my God.
I was so geeked. I was so excited. And I got this interview finally, you know? And so I let my mentor know, you know, the guy that's mixed and that I could just relate with. I was like, man, you know, after 4 semesters, I finally got it. I'm finally, you know, have an interview with Power. And he was kind of like really not giving me the vibes that I needed, right? He was very just... he's like, yeah, he made it seem like it was a bad thing, like I messed up. He's like, well, you know, Denise, a lot of things are changing here at this radio station, and you know, your growth has been really impeccable, and you know, if you go over there, you're gonna be a small fish in a big pond. You're gonna be overlooked. Like it's not gonna be the opportunity that you want to take advantage of, right? And I was pissed. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that as like doubt. I didn't see it as like doubt or like, oh, maybe he's right. I saw it as like, you backstabbed me.
Oh, wow.
I took it very personal because I had already voiced to him how important this was to me. Yeah. And you hit me. You're one of the first people I tell about this, and you hit me with that, and you're somebody that I look up to, but you're not able to share
the
this.
Straight side eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I was able to find out later that he had, I think, applied or worked at that radio station for some time or a while, but he got let go. And then he was also at another hip hop radio station that got closed down. So he was, in a way, placing his fears on me, or maybe whatever backlash or any negative experience that he had, he was kind of placing on me like, oh, well, you know, it's not the best idea, which sucks. You should never do that to somebody.
No,
you should never.
Not when someone's just like coming in like, I got the interview.
Yeah.
Like, did you really?
Right.
Are you sure about that?
Yo, I was hot. I was so hot. Now I really wanted to get out.
But shout out to your conviction as well, though. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I feel like there's also people in these positions where if you're solely looking for the validation of elsewhere, like it could, like imagine like that in and of itself, putting it into somebody else's perspective. Like if you're swayed by that, looking back at it, like that's a life moment that's dictated not by your own device.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's something that a lot of us go through, right? And in your becoming up to this point, like this is something where I was like, look, you've been through the world and back, you've had your own experience growing up, but this was something that you'd literally driven everything towards, right? So it was one of those scenarios where regardless of how close or how all of these things this ex-person was, you weren't going to be deterred.
No, absolutely
if you got
not.
it.
Yeah, absolutely not. And again, it's one of those things where I was just building that confidence, and I was just building that self. I was just building self. And this person who I really trusted really let me down. I don't have a big circle. I've never had a big circle. I mentioned earlier that my mom made us all feel like we should never trust anybody, and that was proving me right. Like, this is why I can't trust anybody. Like, you really just messed me up right now. So now I'm super excited about that. I'm focused on this Power interview. I'm kind of having like, I'm not as consistent with school, and Bank of America was great. God bless the management there, because I was doing so well with sales that they let me do whatever I want. They let me do whatever I want. They let me plan my schedule. I would walk in late all the time to Bank of America because it wasn't important to me.
Yeah.
But I would walk in running and showed hustle, and they were like, oh, Denise, you're late again. I was like, I know, but I'm going to open one credit card today, and you know, whatever. So they were just really proud of me, right? And so when I told them what I was doing, I was like, oh, I have an internship with radio and I'm doing this at college. They were just like, they were these older people that were like, wow, you're doing something that I wish I could have done. Yeah. Like, that's dope.
Hold on, she's following her dreams. Let us
support it.
This.
Yeah, they were really
They could have easily been like, well,
you're fired.
That's great for you.
Yeah.
Miss Jones.
They could have.
But
the Jones campaign is over.
Yeah. Take your toilet talk elsewhere.
They could have. They could have. They really could have, and they didn't. They were so supportive. God bless them. That's a blessing for sure. And it was just money that I needed, money that kept me going. So anyway, I did the phone interview, and the guy's like, oh, well, you know, how much experience do you have with blogging, right? And the only experience I had was with MySpace, with the backgrounds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh, I have a little bit of experience, you know. And he's like, all right, well, what are your music interests? And I knew everything that they played at Power, so I mentioned everything at Power. And so he's like, okay, great. We'd love to bring you in for an interview at the station. And I was like, oh my God, would love to, whatever, right? So we set it up, and I knew he was looking for a blogger. So I'm really good at keeping keywords in mind. I might not remember a name, but I'll know like the highlights of your conversation. So he wanted bloggers, and I had no blogging experience. So what I did is I started a blogger, I started a WordPress, and I started a Tumblr at the same time. And I was very consistent from that day to when I got my interview.
Oh, yeah.
I started putting up music. I started turning
initiative.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I started turning one into a blogging diary entry so he could know that I'm personal. And I started writing about like fashion and stuff. So just so he could see my writing in different levels.
Yeah.
And it was very well written, by the way. Like the spell check was on point. Like there was no typos. I was like really, really on my stuff. And so
very good use of semicolons.
I'm silently celebrating over here. Shoulder shimmy, chest jiggle. You feel me?
Celebration. No, and what I was really smart about, which now that I think about it, it's crazy to think that I did that. But I would use the events that Fresh would give me. And I took so many pictures for her that I had to send. So on my blogs, I saved all those pictures. Awesome. And I put them up. And I was just like, oh, I attended this event and blah, blah, blah. Ooh. So I made it seem like it was my own.
Nice.
And I was just super like on it.
Yeah.
Like I
you got the op. You were ready to go. Like
happy.
There's nothing stopping me here.
I was happy. And so I come my interview. I got there 30 minutes early because from Compton to Burbank, it's kind of far. And so I didn't want to leave a bad impression.
Yeah.
So I get there and I'm waiting. I'm 30 minutes early and I wait an additional hour. So at that point, I'm waiting for almost 2 hours right before they see me. I'm not even feeling discouraged. I'm just excited. Like everyone that I see cross, like, oh, this person's just coming into their shift.
You're giving those phantom head nods, like
yeah. I'm like,
I see you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yo, I'm just happy.
Yeah. You know, that's exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, I was doing that. A lot of that.
Toes twinkling and shit.
I was just grateful to just
You
be
see
there.
the one chick you sold a size 12 shoe to, and you're like, whoa.
Yo, that was the funniest story ever. No, but so I was just so happy. And this was the day that I got to be behind the front desk. You know, for a long time.
That moment.
Yeah, this is like that student body president I'm getting, you know. And I'm just super excited. And so I get there, they finally open the doors, and it's like a pop-up book. I wish you were there to just experience that. So it's like I'm rubbing shoulders with like people, big boys like crossing, but he's like crossing from a distance, and it's just I just see everything, the pictures on the walls and their concert pictures.
Sensory overload.
So you're just seeing I'm at that moment, that walk from the receptionist door to the studio where I was interviewing, that walk played such an impactful role in my life than the interview did.
Wow.
Because, you know, you have to keep in mind, like, you see pictures taken on the Power 106 website because there was no social media. So I would look on power106.com a lot. And you see pictures with artists, and you see the Power 106 backdrop wall, and you see, you know, everything that these guys are taking in, the scents, the pictures, the walls, they had colored walls, like everything that they were taking in is what I was experiencing for the first time in my life.
Incredible.
And it was amazing. If that's all I got from that interview, I probably wouldn't have been happy, but I would have been grateful.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I get to the studio, and it's the on-air radio personality, and it's a producer, I think. It's producer. And they asked me 3 questions about blogging and bed codes, and I'm on it, right? Because I'm familiar. They're like, oh, we got a chance to see some of your work, blah, blah, blah. The interview itself only lasted 5 minutes. So they're like, oh, okay, thank you. You'll be hearing from us soon. We'll contact you. So I'm leaving, and I'm leaving with the biggest feeling of failure.
Why?
Because it was 5 minutes.
Oh, just because it was just like,
how do you not
anticlimactic?
Yeah, like how do you get? I hope I was at that time. I was just hoping that in those 5 minutes I gave everything that I possibly could.
Yeah,
you know, because how do you sell yourself in 5 minutes?
Yeah,
you answer their questions, but they didn't even ask to really like get to know you. They were vibing you out. So I'm just confused. Like, what happened? Did I do something wrong or whatever? So now it's taking me like an hour and a half to get home, and I'm just contemplating the entire thing, running the interview back. Playing basketball really allows you to like any sport. Playing sports really allows you to run things back. Yeah. So I'm trying to every hand gesture, everything. I'm just like overthinking everything, making sure that I did everything right, and I felt like I failed. I just felt like this was my one opportunity after 4 attempts, and my chance, I blew it. Right. And I get a call back. And it was the happiest moment of my life, man.
Incredible.
It was I was in the car driving, leaving KJLH, and this is when like I didn't have Bluetooth. I was driving a bucket, so I had it on call, and I parked the car, and I was just like, they're like, oh, you got this shit. I'm just like, silent celebration.
Silent celebration again.
I was stoked. I felt like I won the lottery. It was just the best feeling in the world. It was the same feeling I got when I got student body president. When I got something that I really worked hard for. And there's a quote that says like, sometimes it takes 10 years to get that 1 year that makes it all worth it.
Absolutely.
And that was that. Like it took 4 semesters for me that made everything all worth it. Like after getting it that time, like at that very moment, I didn't even care how many times I applied. I was just happy to get it. So I'm super excited. They're asking for college credit, right? I'm like, oh, it's easy. I'm a college student. So then I go to my school, ask what the internship course is that I need to take, and then they hit me with, we're going through budget cuts, right? So I'm just like, are you kidding me? So it was myself and another young lady that got the internship. I was going to community college at the time, and she was in the USC Annenberg program. So she was like older than me. Like I was 19 at the time, and she was like this, I think 22, 24-year-old. She's over 21, just really glamorous girl, right? And she's also biracial, but she's half black, half white. So she's just, to me, she was just a really beautiful girl. And I was just like, man, like how am I going to compete with that? Like that's... This girl's at advanced, right? And so I get hit with budget cuts. She got hit with budget cuts with her school that same year. So she was honest about it. She let the internship coordinator know that, hey, I'm not able to receive internship credit until the next semester. So the internship coordinator is like, all right, perfect. We'll save your spot until the fall. So I was like, all right. Well, she's not coming to the fall. That means I'll have all the summer with these guys. Like I'll show them that, I'm more than capable of doing anything. I want to be that right-hand person again.
Nice.
So, but I'm going through budget cuts. So I called the community college that I was going to. They have this really big district. So you're able to go to a bunch of different schools, and the credits just transfer easy. So I called a bunch of schools to see if they were offering internship credit, and they were all too into the semester to let me in, even to just get an ad slip. I couldn't get an ad slip. There was one school. There's always one.
There's always one, yo.
There's always one. You just have to keep calling. So
Stevie Wonder's School of Music.
It's not Stevie Wonder. It's actually Pierce College in Woodland Hills.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, that's the school that's offering it. That's perfect. Well, that week I get into a car accident, so I don't have a car anymore. It wasn't my fault. It was the other person's fault. So I'm like, all right, maybe this is a sign from God. I do need some money right now. Like,
perfect.
Maybe, this is going to be perfect. Well, my car was so totaled that money was only going to be enough to either get me another bucket or to fix all of it that messed up. I think it was like the transmission that got messed up. So there was no coming back. There's no coming back. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, I finally got this internship course. So I had to take 3 or 4 metros to Woodland Hills from Compton.
Wow.
Oh my God. If you think Woodland Hills is far from anything, try from like practically Long Beach, because I lived in the tail end of Compton, closer to Long Beach.
Wow.
So it was like a 3-hour metro.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was a 3-hour metro. But and it was 3 days a week, because the summer course, it's like super short. So what I would do is I would take the metro in the morning for 3 hours one way, 3.5 hours one way, and take 3 or 4 different metros, get to Woodland Hills, and it's hot out there. I'm not familiar.
It's
with the
hot
valley.
as shit out there.
I'm not familiar with the valley, so
the
all
valley
I saw was
is
cactus.
super hot.
All I saw was cactus. Coming from where I grew up, where there's
And Pierce
barely
like
any
has
plants.
like this like fucking like pseudo farm
They
out of
do.
nowhere. It's like wait, what?
They make it look very like I'm not in California anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm somewhere, and
You're
I'm in
literally-
Arizona.
You're literally like Nebraska. Somewhere.
Yeah, Nebraska.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yo, so it was wild to me because I didn't see any of those plants out there, and it was hot, and it's summer. So I'm just like, all right, whatever. So I did the course, and then after I finished the course, I would take the metro to Burbank, and I would just stay there until the radio personality got there, and he did overnights, so he wasn't there until late. But I was just happy to be in the station.
Yeah.
I was just happy to just be sitting down and not bothering anybody.
Yeah.
And they have conference rooms and stuff, and I was just there. And when they asked me to leave, I'd just go to the kitchen, or I would just wait in the bathroom, or I'll walk around Burbank. I was telling you, I walked around Burbank because Burbank looked like a utopia to me. Isn't that crazy to think that it looked so nice? Like the sun seemed like it was shining brighter. The grass and the plants were cleaner.
For real, just
People were running. That's the first time I saw somebody run just out in the street.
wild.
Because in Compton, you don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't do those things. It's dangerous. I grew up around prostitution. I grew up around poverty, like things that those kids have no idea about. So when I got there, I was just like, man, this is so cool. I would walk to like a coffee shop and this and the other. I was just happy to be in a community that was different. And so I did that for the semester, right? And then fall came. Now I'm with this girl. Now I'm a one up on her because I've been here longer.
Yep.
I have more experience. So I'm confident. My confidence is at an all-time high. And I left Bank of America, obviously, because I wasn't going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Left Bank of America, and they were really supportive. But I'm broke as hell. I'm super poor. And so the girl's like, she's pretty good, but she's almost like one of those like, oh, well, I'll just do the bare minimum, right? And I'm like, the bare minimum is 2 blogs. I'm doing 16 blogs a day, right? I'm that person because I just wanted to make sure that they needed me.
Yeah.
So then the winter comes and she finishes her semester, right? She finishes her 2. You can only intern at Power. I forgot to mention. You can only.
Shout out to the siren.
Yeah.
Shout out to the siren.
No, every time a pivotal moment happens, like we get that.
Well, this is pretty important here.
Every time.
16 blogs is fucking important too. Lightweight.
Oh, it's like stuck there.
This is very important.
Very important. There's no silent celebration going on right now, by the way.
Anyway, so you only get 2 semesters to intern at Power or any corporation, right? You only get 2 semesters. And she was the girls, I gotta give it to her. She was very honest. I don't know what her goals or ambitions were, but mine was to be at Power. That's what I really, really wanted to do. And hers might have not been. So she for all I know, this was her first time applying and she got it, right? Because that's kind of how she was treating it compared to me. I didn't want to lose this opportunity.
Yeah.
So after the winter ended, technically after the fall ended, my internship program had ended. But they weren't keeping logs or anything. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just stick around till I get kicked out. So then the winter comes and she leaves, right? I'm like, oh, sure enough, they're going to tell me, all right, Denise, it's your time too. Nobody told me anything. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going
I'm
to
here.
stick around. I can't get college credit though anymore. Hopefully it's not a big deal. So I'm like sticking around for a whole year. Just helping out, like doing a bunch of things, like doing the same things I would do as an intern, blogging, just being the
And
person.
no one's really keeping track.
No one's
like,
keeping
they're
track.
Just like, yeah,
So
stay
anyway,
intern.
Yeah.
So
Did it? Yeah. Can you get that? Okay, perfect.
no one's keeping track. So I'm like, all right, that must be cool or whatever. I didn't think it was a big deal. And so they were joking around or somebody was talking, whatever, about an internship. And I don't know how it was brought up that, wait, you're still here. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I am. I didn't think it was a problem. I just, didn't want to lose this opportunity. Like, oh, my God, I can get in really big trouble for this. Like, technically it's illegal.
Wow, it became a thing.
Yeah, it became a thing. Like, technically it's illegal, right? And I'm just like, illegal? The hell? Like,
Yeah, you're like,
I'm just like in
illegal?
copies and shit.
I didn't know what the hell that
I'm
meant.
helping. I'm just helping. I'm just going to go to jail for helping.
illegal?
So I'm tripping. I'm like really bugging at this point because I'm like, I didn't want to get anybody in trouble. So then I have a meeting with pretty much like the main honchos or whatever, right? And they're like, oh, Denise, you can't stay because you're working for free. And at that point you have a right to sue or whatever. And I'm just kind of like, why would I want to sue my favorite station?
Good for me, but like...
Yeah. I was like, oh, you know, I just really want to be here, whatever, like this, that, and the other. It never crossed my mind to sue. I'm grateful for the opportunity to just be here, and I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I applied 4 semesters, and I built this relationship with you, the internship coordinator, and I just didn't want to lose it. And so she's like, I understand that, but, you know, you're going to have to talk to the radio personality and see if he wants to bring you under his wing because you can't continue with this internship anymore. So I was like, all right. So I was pretty confident that he was going to say yeah. And sure enough, he said yeah, because we had already established a relationship for a year.
Awesome.
And so he's like, yeah, of course, I don't have money to pay you, but, you know, if you want to stick around or whatever. I was like, man, I would just love to stick around. I could do the same thing that I'm doing now. So God bless him. He has really he really put me under his wing. So he was just always like, I'm visually like somebody who just learns by watching. You don't have to talk to me. I don't want to be an annoyance. Like any gig that he got, any photo shoot, like I always had a role. Even if it's like, Denise, can you please grab us lunch or whatever? If it's just to make his life easier, that's what I want it to be, right? So going back home, it was weird because I had like this Hollywood thing, right? Because I was posting on, at this point, Instagram had just kind of started and I'm just posting a bunch of things. And you get this weird stigma that you're like rich, right? Like, oh man, you're popping. You sold out. Yeah. You sold out or whatever, right? And I'm just thinking like, dog, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm poor as hell. And it's weird because a lot of like, the people that I would kind of that I grew up with, not that I went to school with, but like just amongst my community, because I was still living at home, kind of made me feel like I was like, I had a too good thing going on. And I was, mind you, I'm hustling. Like
buses left and right, like.
So I'm hella humble right now. And I'm just thinking like, really? And I didn't know then that it was just like, you could do this too and you're not, so you're probably just hating. Like you want to do this, but for whatever the reason, there's this bad stigma that the hood gets, that's so bad to sell out, or it's so bad to want to strive to be better. You know, it's bad to want to get out. Like, why is it bad to want to get out? It's not great here. It's cool and I'm grateful. Mind you, my upbringing, we didn't come from a lot, but we had enough. We had everything that we needed. We had the tools to get up and go. If you decide to stay here, that's more than fine. But that's just not what I wanted to do. And it sucked that I didn't feel like I was getting the support that I feel like I would have given anybody. Like if I was somebody that was just sitting down, like just one of my friends that was still in the hood that was sitting down and just thinking like, man, I want to be like her. I want to do what she's doing. I'd ask like, yo, how can I do what you're doing? Or what is it that you do? Yeah. You know? And so anyway, I'm going through that and I'm just thinking like, I got to get out. I got to get out of this. I got to move to the valley. I got to find a way to make it work. I'm not working, so I don't know how I'm going to make some money. So I started doing like a bunch of side gigs. I started doing promo work. And as a lady, doing promo work is cool, but it's not like, one thing my mom always was really smart about is teaching me like never to compromise your principles for whatever the amount it is. Like you'll just make it work at McDonald's, you know, if that's the case, but don't ever like feel like you have to do more, you know, like you have to, sex sells, we get it, but you don't have to do that. And so being a pro,
and that's something a lot of like females, especially in this game and any entertainment facet, like don't have a person that's driving them in that direction.
Yeah, because it's so easy.
It's trial and error, right? Where a lot of people get into that. Like not a lot, but like it's a possibility to believe certain things. Where
you're gonna get more likes this way.
Yeah,
and it's true, you are. But are those the likes that you want?
Yeah.
You have to pick and choose.
Can you live with that?
Yeah, and I couldn't. And being the introvert that I was, even though I was like, you know, I had my times of popularity and my times of really, really a lot of neglection. I walked in with that in mind, and doing promo, it's like you're selling things or whatever. But yeah, you know, you also get these guys that want to take pictures with you. And I never compromised anything. Like I was never like showing cleavage, wearing short shorts, or showing my midriff, which is totally fine. If that's what you want to do, that's just not my vibe.
Yeah.
So I had to really find these extra promo gigs, to like that let me wear whatever I want, or gave me at least a t-shirt and I'm going to sell your product. You know, if it was like Red Bull, if it was like, I did promo for Coca-Cola. I did promo for a bunch of different companies that I all got off of Craigslist. Craigslist is cool, but you just got to be safe.
Yeah.
You got to be really safe.
For real,
you got to be smart about what you're doing. Because it was through Craigslist when I didn't have a car that I told you. It was through Craigslist. When I didn't have a car, I was like going through a lot, and I wanted to get a car for $1,500. And somebody was like, "Oh, you could get out. I'm selling this car for $1,500, but I'm outside of the country. I can't sell it. I mean, I can't be there to give it to you, but just send me the money and I'll send you the car. Send it through Western Union." And that's what I did.
Oh no!
And I got raped for the only $1,500 that I had.
Oh no!
So I had hit like a bunch of lows. Like I didn't have a car. I'm trying to figure out my problems at home. It just, I was telling you, just when you hit the bottom, just when you think like, all right, this is the bottom.
Yeah.
It's another level.
Yeah.
And then it's another level. And you're just like, man, like how low is this?
Yeah.
And I went through like a really interesting time because it never crossed my mind. Like suicide never crossed my mind, or hurting myself never crossed my mind. But I began to understand the mentality of someone who's in that state of mind. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Siren.
Yeah, for real.
Right on time.
They know.
They know.
Right on time.
Hope you're safe out there.
Thank you.
Right on time. So, though it never crossed my mind to do it, I was in such a low that I just realized, I really thought, all right, well, I have no money.
Yeah.
I'm very in debt. I'm having problems at home. I'm pretty much dropped out of college. I'm in and out of college. I'm not taking the courses that I should be taking. I'm not doing anything with my life. I could understand how somebody gets into that mind state. This is it.
Especially when you're unable to speak about it, right?
Yeah, you can't talk about it. Everyone sees you as this thing, you're putting this perception, right? This is before Instagram, where the perception is at an all-time high. Yeah. This is when the perception is Denise is always out of the house. Denise is doing something, right? Because she's never home. Yeah. And little do they know, it's well, Denise isn't making any money. Denise isn't even going back to school, or she's not even in school right now. So it's well, what's next? What's next? I'm not gonna hurt myself. Yeah. But what's gonna make me get up or wake up from this mind state? And I went back to. It's almost like I was going backwards. Yeah. It's almost like I was going backwards, and it sucked because it was taking a toll on my family. And my grandmother was the one that really realized, what the fuck? What do you mean you're not going to school? And what do you mean, you're broke, you're not working anymore, and this, that, and the other. And I grew up very, very, very close to my grandmother. She's actually my godmother. And she's like my best friend. She's the tiniest lady that looks very much like me. She's the closest person in the family that really looks like me, where I'm proud. I'm so proud, and it's looking at her, it's like looking at myself. And so she's just really disappointed in me, and I was always the trophy kid. I was always the one that, hey, this is the example. And for the first time in my life, I'm not the example, And so it's one of those things where her knowing my situation made it even that much more real, right? And so I was talking to Mondo, who's the radio personality that I was working with. Mondo, my mom knows a lot about everything that I've been through, but that man also knows, I'm never one to voice my problems. Yeah. But because we work so closely together, by nature, he was just going to know, yeah, man, what's going on? Your vibe is off. Yeah. And it was on some man, frankly, I'm broke. I've never been more broke. I can't afford to come up here. I don't even know how I'm making it work. I'm doing promo gigs. I'm there's different apps that you can get money. So I'm writing these students papers for $50, and you can pick up groceries through Craigslist. Sometimes they'll request certain things.
So you're just thugging on Craigslist.
This is before Uber. Yeah. Oops. This is before Uber. This is before everything that you can do now. All the little side jobs that you can do now. This is before that. Yeah. So I'm just thinking I'm running out of time. I can't do any more of these promo gigs. So he's all right, well, what about if you do street team? Because I knew he did street team, and he's had his own journey, but I just felt like his journey was just, it looked nicer, but you never know. You never know.
Everybody's does when you're not in it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So then he's like, oh, I should do street team. So I tried out for street team and I got it. Like, I was really happy about it. I got it. And that's where I learned how to host. I learned how to DJ. And my dad is a DJ, so he already had like that background. And music was something that I always grew up with. So hosting came by second nature. Like, I was hosting events. I was building relationships with Jiffy Lube and with Del Taco and with McDonald's. And they were giving us all these coupons and I was still jack broke, right? So we're doing all this promo gig, and I'm doing all this stuff with the street team, and I'm still helping him with his brand. I'm just doing the most, right? But I'm just happy to be in the lifestyle. I'm just happy to be doing what I want to be doing. I'm just not getting paid for it just yet. So I went on a trip with Mondo to the iHeart Radio Music Awards, right? Went to Vegas, and I met these two girls there, and I moved in with them. Right? Because that was like my only chance. I moved in with them for $500 a month. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to do it. Yeah, like, I don't know how. I've been able to make certain money, and $500 is like something I can easily give up. Yeah. So I was living with them. I was finally living in the Valley. So I was just happy, like, damn, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it the way that I want to be doing it, but I'm doing something right.
Something's being done.
Mm-hmm. And it's rarely the way you want to be doing it. Like, when you're on that path, it like what you have in your mind is very rare of like how it actually goes down. Yeah. Real quick, I want to ask, did you ever want to give up at any point and just say, like,
absolutely,
hey, let me just apply for this 9 to 5. I know I can get it. I know I'll get a check, and I need money right now. The dream has gotta sit on the side. Yeah.
Bank of America was so good to me that I maintained that relationship with them. I hit such a low that I was being perceived as just killing it. Like, oh, Denise is finally doing her job in radio. So nobody knew of my struggles. I'm never one to voice my struggles. Right. So I talked to my old banking center manager, and I was like, oh, we should do dinner just to catch up or whatever. Knowing damn well I didn't have any kind of money to catch up for dinner. And I wanted to be the one to pay for it, but I wasn't in that position. So my goal in setting up that dinner was to ask for my job back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I hit a low when I realized that, when I planned that, because it felt like I was going backwards, but I was like, no one's going to know. I'm going to work there for a couple months and I'm going to get out. Yeah. So I go and I have dinner with her, and she's so happy to see me. And she's just like talking about everything. And I'm like, how's Bank of America? She's like, man, it's horrible. You did the best thing by leaving. I wish I could do what you did.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, this is not what I planned. So she's like, yeah, it's, so admirable that you left. I'm actually getting ready to go myself. Like, and I'm just like, no, like, I wanted to go. Did you ever watch The Office?
It's my favorite show.
My favorite show ever in the world. And
it's like the humor of The Office hits the core of my being.
That's perfect. That I love The Office for that reason. And that scene reminded me of like a Michael Scott moment where it's like, we need to go. Like, I need to go. I need to get out. I need to go.
We need to go.
Like, where he has like his face expressions where he's like, and he just like leaves.
The greatest.
And that's exactly what I felt. I just felt like, what? Like, this was my lifeline. This was my lifeline here. Yeah. I embarrassed myself first and foremost because I was about to ask for my job back. And she's telling me it's not good, right? So at that moment, I saw that as a sign. Like, you know what, Denise? You can't go back. Like, you can't go back. This is God saying you can't go back. Like, make it work. You've made it work in the past. Like, just make it work. So I'm paying rent, and it's like a debt now for me, right? Like, I never was behind in rent, but I was struggling to just make ends meet. So I said I was doing these events with Del Taco and with McDonald's through the radio station, right? Yeah. Through Street Team. They would give us these coupons. So I was living off of free Del Tacos, one Del Taco a day for like 3.5 months.
Oh, damn. One meal or one taco?
One taco.
One taco a day?
Taco. And sometimes, because I had to be mindful of like how many I had.
Yeah.
So, and if I was really hungry, then I would go and get a second one at another Del Taco. But for the most part, I would like eat, my dinner would be sleep. I would go to sleep early so that I don't have to eat. And so I was doing that. I was doing street team. I'm not going to school, obviously. But I still have, I haven't been out of school for too long. Mm-hmm. And I'm working with Mondo, and I'm helping him with his show, and his producer is leaving to New Jersey. So that role needed to be filled, right? And so since I was always there, they trained me to do different things. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up becoming the head night producer at 22.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was a really impactful moment because, yeah.
The silent celebration.
I was so proud of that moment because it made everything feel like I was doing something right. Like all the struggle and stress that I was going through, it was all paying off.
You know, like we say a lot, so much of the journey is like surviving in the desert long enough till the rain comes.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. Like, it's gonna come.
Yeah.
You don't know when. You don't know how long.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, it's also worth it to say, like, look, like, yes, it is a reality that sometimes it doesn't come.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, that's that fine balance of...
But you just stay prepared.
Yeah. You have to. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, look, like, sometimes, like, the parents' worry is true. Mm-hmm. But there's others where it's like, if your dream is strong and you need to pivot one way or another, but, like, you're going to go through the depths of yourself, you know what I'm saying, to really like figure all that out. And it's one of those things where it's like the only way dreams become a reality is if like you really make them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And no one path to a dream is the same. So it's like there's no like set playbook and like persistence and like work hard and all that. Like, yes, they're staples, but they don't guarantee a goddamn thing.
It's fucking survival.
Yeah,
like
you have to.
It's the work hard, but it's like I gotta also like
make it work.
Eating one taco a day is not really about working hard. It's about like figuring out how I'm going to make it to tomorrow.
Yeah,
you know, and that's such a huge element of it. You know, it's the perseverance, but also just the reality of I need to fucking survive if I really, really want to do this.
Can I ask you something like, and we've all gone through it, but I want to know what was going through your head of those moments where, like, it's not even like I'm being taken advantage of, right? Because, like, I feel like
that's a great question.
What gets us in that realm, like, especially those that, and I can tell you of a very similar ilk of like, okay, like, I believe you, like, I know, but I'm down for the cause, right? What were those conversations that you were having, not only internally, but also with Mondo of like, look, B, like, I've been here and I get that, right? But I'm dying out here, right? And then not only are you like dealing with just like that reality, right? But obviously, when you come back into the home, it's not as comforting anymore. Right? And it's like, how are you being taken advantage of? How are you not having anything to show for this? Is this really something good for you? Like, they're bringing the practicalities out, and you're just like, no, I get it. Knowing that it's like, I feel y'all, but like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But you're balancing on that tightrope, right? And I feel like that's something a lot of kids or whoever you are going into a path and being willing to like put yourself out there and build your not fucking resume, but build your
credibility,
indispensability.
There you go.
Right, and it's a process, right? What was that for you?
Man, you know, it's all of that and some. So yeah, I'm going through the motions of like my parents telling me, Denise, you know, there's no future in this, like, and they don't really understand what I'm doing, and it's hard for me to explain it, especially if I'm focusing on like social media or something like that, right? Or like even hosting. Yeah. You know how hard is it to explain to my mom, like, hey, or my grandmother, like, hey, yeah, they paid me to use a mic. They're like, they pay you
to what?
To use a mic.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah.
And not enough. But I guess it's blind faith. That's all it is. It's blind faith because you feel like you're getting taken advantage of. You probably are getting taken advantage of because, and it partially, it could be intentional. It could be half intentional and it can be half like not intended that to be that way. But it's hard because in the industry that we work in, as glamorous as it is, and with all the money that there is, there's also like a lot of struggle phases.
Hell
you know,
yeah.
that people don't really talk about. And it's not always like this sunshiny day every day. You know, sometimes you get hit with storms, and during those storms, you can't want to just breathe. You know, you can't want to just go and say, "Hey, help me."
Yeah.
You know, nobody likes that person, and it doesn't feel good to be that person. Being the person that I am, I'm very, very prideful. So, you know, I always convinced myself that I wasn't being taken advantage of. Even if I was, I didn't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Because the day that I didn't
You had bigger fish to fry in your head.
Absolutely. And the day that I didn't make money, I learned something, you know, and it's like, it's that Big Sean, like the day, you know, today if I don't earn, best believe I'm going to learn.
Bounce back or learn.
Or,
Okay. I sound like a fucking idiot. Sorry, Sean. My bad, Sean. Whatever the higher learning in your Gucci Lemonade freestyle was, like, let's leave it at that. You're on the top floor getting brain. I appreciate that. Whatever the fuck my butchering of that was, my complete apology.
Yo, that was nowhere near.
It was not. It was not. But like, look. I'm not even throwing nobody under the bus, but it definitely had that cadence of like, last night I learned something, and then, you know what I mean? Wherever that came from.
What song was that?
I don't know. I'm gonna shut the fuck. I'm gonna silently celebrate my idiocracy there. You know what I mean?
That was off Detroit mixtape. That was off the Detroit mixtape. But anyway, it's like, yeah, today if I don't earn, best believe I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
And
well, see, I like that. Like, you came in with it strong right there. I respect that. For real.
So that's
But
kind of,
hey,
that's
it's
kind
all
of
good. I actually just bounced back.
Beautiful.
You
I
know what
love
I'm saying?
it.
So right now took an L, and then I just immediately bounced
There
back.
you go.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
All
Thank
for
you,
it. We
thank
go
you
there.
for teaching us your ways.
It's lit.
So that's exactly what happened. Like, I convinced myself into thinking that if I'm not making money, that I'm learning something, whether it's like something on Photoshop or it's something on Final Cut or Illustrator, or I'm learning something with programming, or I'm learning new marketing. I'm reading something that I never have read. So I'm investing in certain elements and applications that I can apply in the future and potentially make some money off of it, right? And
but I think, and sorry to cut you off, but I think that's a very pivotal point in your path, like in that want and desire, right? Because unlike a type of personality, let's say person A, that is in this bind and is just waiting for it to come to them.
Yeah.
You're in this position, but you're also like being indispensable is something that like you're actively working towards, right? So you're learning about blogging, you're learning about this. You're literally putting yourself in a position, right? Whether it was Power or anywhere else, like, and like who, if anybody's ever listening here, it's like, understand this, like the subconscious activation of your like pursuit was, okay, this is a necessity. I'm going to go learn that.
Yep.
This is a necessity. I'm going to go learn that. You weren't just the girl or the pretty girl or the presence that like was waiting for, or you were an asset, but like, why aren't y'all? No, you were like, okay, these are all, you had the foresight to see these are all necessities in this grander scope, and you were like attacking them.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a very, it's a very like pivotal, horrible fucking word, but it's a very crucial, wow, even worse, but it's a necessity to be able to like build your skill sets.
Absolutely.
Right? Instead of relying on opportunity.
Yeah.
Keep those in there, bro, because like I already bounced back.
There's no edits. There's no edits.
But you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because if there's one thing I forgot to mention is that the first day that I was at Power, during my interview, I was very professional. I wore a pink blazer. I wore these denim pants because they wanted something semi-casual or semi-formal. So I was kind of confused. I was dressed casual from the waist down and formal from the waist up.
Yeah, you nice. The pink jump off Johnny going on.
So I was trying to make it work, right? And then my first day, I was myself. And myself at the time was very tomboyish. Part of it was basketball. Another part of it was, not to say my mom isn't a strong woman. She's a very strong woman. But I just felt that women, I didn't understand the powers that we women hold. And I felt like women were always looked at as like weak piece of meat, just here for the looks. Items, exactly. And I didn't want to be that. So I wanted to be one of the guys. And the only way that I can be respected and treated like one of the guys who can go, you know, pick up these boxes and who can go like, yo, let's go out and let's have grab a bite or something, right? As one of the guys and not be seen as like, oh, you know, we gotta be.
You know what? I actually am eating salads only.
Yeah. I was not that girl. I'm still not that girl. But even more so
chicken,
then.
Please.
I don't like grilled chicken. It has to be very well done.
The chicken Caesar? No chicken, please.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I really wanted to make sure that I was getting the respect that I deserved, and the only way that I was going to get that was being treated as one of the guys. And so, so I would, my wardrobe was like literally like this hip hop dancer. Like I was wearing cargo shorts, but they were like oversized, and I was wearing oversized tees, and I was wearing a hat everywhere that I go. The only feminine thing that I had was some hoops. And I was just like one of the guys. Like I probably looked like I liked girls.
You were a straight B girl.
I wanted to be one of the guys, right? And so, anyway, I'm trying to. I forgot where we were going before this.
It was just talking about like so you were leading into like, yes, your femininity was there, but you wanted to be an asset. Yeah, one of the guys, but also an asset.
Yeah, and I didn't understand. Man, it's crazy. Like, as a woman, we hold so much power. We have so much strength. But growing up, I kind of felt like, well, the man is stronger, right? Even though I grew up with some really strong females around me. My mom was strong. My grandmother's strong. And they both came from broken relationships. Yeah. You know, because I didn't have a grandfather and I didn't have a biological dad. That they just filled in that really strong female role in my life. But even that wasn't enough for me to think that acting like one of the guys was gonna make it work. Yeah. And anyway, so it sucks because when, as a woman, if I would have used that like off the back, like, yo, you know, I'm a woman who can do X, Y, and Z. Oh man, I feel like I would have been in a crazier level, but who knows? The journey, you know, I'm meant to be where I am right now. I feel like I'm meant to be here. But it just, if there's like a young lady out just really rocking that feminine flag and more than ever, and in a tasteful way, not in like a, you know, oh, I'm a feminist. Like, do you even know what a feminist is? You know, I feel like we live in a time where it's the perfect time to just embrace that. But growing up, I didn't have that opportunity to be that.
Just because you did the slut walk doesn't mean you're a feminist, by the way.
Exactly. You know Thank you for that. So working in the street team, you get paid minimum wage, right? And then working overnights, you get paid minimum wage as well. And that's
1.5 minus the half, y'all.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So for all the hours that you put in. But I was just grateful to be there, right? And when you go through a phase like that where you don't have enough for groceries and you barely have enough for gas, you can't go on. You want to network, but you can't because you can't afford to do lunch. You know, you can't afford to get your own lunch. How are you going to buy somebody else's lunch? Yeah. And you're working like a dog. You know, how is it? It's like a math problem that just doesn't equate to the answer that it's supposed to.
Goodwill Hunting took a nap, y'all. Like, we don't know where this motherfucker is. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you start looking into other activities, at least I did, that just made me feel like I was doing something right. So I wasted a lot of time, or not wasted, but I used a lot of my time at the 99-cent store, right? I would splurge there. And that was like, for me, that was the store, that was Target, right? That was Target. And little things like that. But as far as like the mindset, I mean, without sugarcoating anything, it's negative. It's negative because you're praying that you're not getting taken advantage of, and you're praying that you see a light at the end of this tunnel.
You're knowing you're a good person.
You're knowing that you're a good person.
Does this happen?
Yeah, you're. It's one of those things where you don't have a safety net. I didn't have a safety net to go back. Yeah. You know, and so what do I can't go back to Bank of America anymore because, you know, there's no opportunity there. She's not happy that my old manager isn't happy there, and that's who I thought I was gonna get my job back. I can't get my job back there. I don't want to do more promo than I'm already doing. I'm already doing street team, and I'm already doing overnights. I'm not sleeping. So, like, what's keeping me is blind faith. It's just blind faith. My relationship with God has that. During that time got very, very strong because you can't talk to anybody. Yeah. You know, you can't share your problems with somebody else without them feeling pity for you or I don't expect advice. I don't expect advice because you've never walked in my shoes. You know, you can give me an alley-oop and tell me like, oh, you know, why don't you take advantage of this? Yeah. But then it's like, do I want that alley-oop? Because then you might throw it back to my face and say, well, without me, you wouldn't have gotten there. Yeah. And I was never that person that wanted to be, you know, given something, you know, without me having to work for it. And so I'm very, very prideful. And that's something that you can't have when you're working in the industry. You need to be, or when you're working and struggling, you can't afford pride. Yeah, you can't afford pride. And it took me a long time to realize that. And it was things like talking to Mondo and explaining to him without feeling like a broken record. Yeah. Because I was struggling for 2.5 years. Yeah. Actually, it could have been more, but I was in at Bank of America for 2.5 years, and that's when things really started hitting the fan. Talked to him, explained to him my situation. There's only so much that he can do, and I feel like everyone has their own problems, so I didn't want to put my problems on him.
Absolutely.
And it was just little things like realizing everything around me, realizing everything that I've already accomplished, taking time, because time is all I had. I didn't have time to go and go to a party. I didn't have time to get an outfit. I didn't have time to do my hair. I didn't have time to get makeup. Like, it was something as little as walking out and realizing, like, damn, Denise, you live in the Valley. You know, you're no longer in Compton. Wow. You know, and when you realize that, there was one point, my old apartment, my first apartment was in Valley Village. And we didn't have like a nice rooftop, but we had just something where you could see outside the roof, right? Growing up, we didn't have a roof. Like, we couldn't go up there like that. And so I got up there and I'm just thinking about everything. I'm thinking about the relationship that I have with my family and how bad it is. I knew it was bad when I couldn't go back home. When it was just like, I knew they were going to get upset and they were going to be disappointed. Just the fact that my grandma was left that disappointed took a big toll on my energy and my vibe. I couldn't tell Mondo anything more that I was already telling him. I couldn't get a gig, and I was really just depending on myself. Like, I was my best friend, and for a long time, because I had to eat lunch, you know, in the restroom, and because I had to feel like worthless, and because I've felt like neglected, and I felt like disappearing. You know, I started remembering about all of that and really realizing that was a low point in my life, you know, and I'm back at that low point, only it's at another level. Yeah. Right.
How crazy is that in a dream you reach like an abyss that you felt before when you weren't dreaming? Yeah.
And so to answer your question, it's really the mind. It's really the mind. That's all you have. You have blind faith. That's all you have. Yeah. And you're going to run with it. Yeah. You know, that's your golden ticket.
There's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. There's just hope. And you're hoping that you're planting the right seeds and that you're watering them and they're not dead. And, you know, you're shaking hands with the right people. You're investing your time with the right people. And you're realizing your worth, because when you're working for free, it almost seems like, oh, Denise, you don't know your worth. I'm constantly hearing that. Denise, you don't know your worth, this and the other, blah, blah, blah.
That shit sucks. When you know you do, right? And you're hearing that from people.
Denise, you don't know. You could be doing so much better, Denise. Like, oh my gosh, like, why are you investing with this person and this and the other? Like, you have to quiet the mind. Yeah. You have to quiet the mind because it becomes so loud, especially at night. It becomes so loud that you start thinking that you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You start thinking that. You start talking to yourself. Like I started talking to myself out loud.
Yeah, it's quieting the mind, but it's also like quieting everyone else.
Exactly.
Too,
but how do you? So like with me, quieting everyone else was more of a challenge than quieting myself.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can do that was literally distancing myself from people, disappearing, going ghost. And that's not the best way to handle things.
It's hard.
But it's necessary sometimes, because it was either that or I was going to just lose it. You know, one thing that really always like came to mind, and even sometimes to this day comes to mind, is just like, though I'm like that thought process of somebody who's really like, man, this is it. Like no one's gonna miss me. Like I'm causing more problems than help in this world. Like that mindset has always stuck to me. It's always stuck to me because though it's not something I have the courage to do, it's something that I understand. And it's nothing that you can do. There's nothing you can do to help somebody aside from talking to them, but it's more so you need to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me out of that. It's just really that, just talking to yourself, talking out loud, looking crazy and feeling okay with looking crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
For real. And like, I truly feel like if you're going to take it a step above it, and this is coming from somebody that didn't for so long, right? Like I was in a very similar scenario, and like, imagine the conundrum of like being told you're changing somebody's life and you're dead inside.
Yeah.
That's a trip. Instead of just like being in the sunken place. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Get Out. Mm-hmm. And just like having to go there. But like, there was moments where I was just like, oh, noosh, like that talk we had. And I'm literally like talking to myself through them.
Yeah.
But like in my instance, it was like, fuck, like who the fuck's going to talk to me? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm. But I completely agree with, you know, being powerful enough to have those open conversations with oneself and like understanding that. But at the same time, it's like, look, like I'll take it a step further and say like, we got to be comfortable with putting our lownesses out there. We have to be comfortable with being able to, with somebody or with something, knowing that it's not going to be as catastrophic as anything.
Yeah.
Right? Of being able to say like, I need a fucking life jacket real quick so that the next wave doesn't drown me.
Yeah. Well, I actually I thought I had a life jacket. When I was in college and I was kind of going through that transition, I spoke to a therapist, right? A college therapist, because I couldn't afford a real one. Yeah. And I was going through a lot of things. I was going through like identity issues, and I was going through just like that career transition. Identity issues is more so because I didn't have that relationship with my biological dad. I really wanted to see if there was something that was being affected by me not having that relationship. So I started seeing this psychologist at school, and the relationship was really cool. It was really cool. And I really felt like he was asking the right questions that I needed answers for myself from, right? And I really admired this person, and this was the first time I was ever able to put myself in such a vulnerable place without me even knowing the individual, right? There's this freedom with telling a complete stranger your story and your problems because you don't feel judged.
There's no repercussion.
It's completely unbiased and safe.
Yeah. So anyway, so this college therapist he's not my age. He's like good over 20, 25 years older than me. He's like texting me, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's just, you know, talking to me, checking in on me because I said this and the other. Yeah. I just want to make sure I was all right. So then, but it was getting to the point where he would text me at night saying, "Hey, I had a dream about you, and we were in love, and blah blah blah."
No,
it got weird.
Horrifying.
So I felt like I was raped with my $1,500, right? $1,500 for my car.
That never came.
The car that never came, and I was back to that feeling. So I felt like it was during that time too, so it was just a really bad low. Like that experience really messed me up because
like how can you be in a position to like have such like access?
You're so vulnerable, and it's just like, I got you.
So it really, really, really messed me up for a cool little minute. And it sucked because it really made me close up. It really made me close up more than ever. So I was oppressing all these feelings inside of me, and I was getting really good at it. I was getting really good at being faced with the problem and being completely okay with it. Like, hey, Denise.
How scary is that though? Like looking back at that.
Really scary.
Shit.
It's dangerous.
Right?
It's really, really dangerous.
That's a fucking wild scenario.
Yeah. So it was like to the point where I was like beyond overdrafted. You know, me and my grandma weren't talking for like weeks, and I didn't have a car. So there was just so many things that were adding to this, and the 1500 was like that first feeling where it felt like, oh my God, Denise, you know, how were you stupid enough to lose money here? But Denise, how were you even more stupid to trust somebody? Like your mom told you not to trust anyone.
Yeah.
Right? So it sucked. And you're right. The reason I bring it up is because, yeah, sometimes you do want to seek for help. And sometimes yourself is not enough. Sometimes you need another opinion. And so I wasn't able to go back into therapy for, I think like 2 years.
Look, I think everyone should see a therapist. It's
Absolutely.
like, it's actually the most normal thing ever.
Absolutely.
Of all time. Like,
And it helps.
I've seen a therapist for like 10 years and regularly. And
it helps.
The stigma about it is so like
especially
immature.
in poverty. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's everyone's got their own shit, but that's like, hey, that's part of being human.
Yeah.
Hey, that's actually like how life works. You don't just like walk out and be like, oh, I'm issue free, or I know how to do everything right. I'm totally mentally healthy all the time.
And imagine seeing
doesn't fucking work like that.
Imagine seeing the therapist instead of like a therapist as just somebody that will listen to you without an opinion.
Yeah, and on top of that, what's crazy, what's amazing about a therapist is like, there's like a little soapbox fucking moment for therapists, but you know, they understand how the fucking mind works.
They do.
And like the way they can, like when you express something and they see it not only like from an unbiased objective standpoint, but also in a way of like, well, you're not really processing that correctly. Let me tell you what you're actually is happening. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
And
structured thinking.
Yeah.
No, but it's hard to like, even when you talk to yourself and are able to open up to yourself, it's hard to literally go through these unbiased thoughts with yourself, right? Yeah. Whether it's a friend or whether it's a therapist, at the end of the day, it's like somebody to talk to.
It's needed.
And if we take out, let's even say no therapist or not, right? Even if we've got a friend that we're open to talk to and be free with whatever you think, just look at it objectively and just like, I'm not worried about what you think based on what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is freedom.
Totally.
You feel me?
Yeah. 100. So the second time that I did therapy, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, go.
Second time I did therapy, I was a little more hesitant towards it because of the first experience that I had, but it was something that I really needed. I needed somebody to talk to. I had best friends, but I couldn't communicate to them everything that I was going through. So the second therapist was amazing. God bless him. He was so good as far as just like helping me really, really answer the questions that I had dug so deep for so long that I forgot I even needed answers to them for. You know, and when you're walking around with this dead weight, you're limiting your opportunity because you're hesitant without even knowing. You're subconsciously, you know, more likely to go to this situation as opposed to this one. But why is that? You don't even know. You just off the back look at something that looks a lot more appealing than the other. And I didn't know it's because I was missing this. And there was a lot to it. And part of it that he said is, one thing that really stood out is that I was always missing, what did he say? Like, he worded it so well, but I was always missing something in my family, or missing something in my family that I was missing with myself. And I've been trying to cover that up with so many different things, work, you know, problems. Sometimes we create our own problems and we don't even realize that we just create problems to fill a void that we don't know. But I had this void that had been needing to be filled, and I was filling it with the wrong things. And that void was just not growing up with a father. Mm-hmm. Right. And I didn't know the importance of that because I'm thinking like, well, I don't have daddy issues. Like, I'm very confident. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. My stepdad, who's my dad, like, he's played a bigger role in my life. Yep. You know, I have everything that I need. And the way he worded it is because I've never got closure from that part, then everything that I do, I'm very, very strong. I'm very, very strong mentally. But I'm never able to ask for help. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm never able to ask for help. And I thought it was pride the whole time, but it was just really, ever have the liberty, you know, when you have a dad, like dad's who you ask for help, mom's who nurtures you, and dad's who you ask for help. And I didn't have that growing up. I kind of had to figure it out on my own. And so walking in with that in mind, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should dedicate some time. I need to take some time off, and I need to go find him. I need to go find him, because I knew I had two half siblings, but I just had never really like built that relationship with them like that. So my mom married back into with my stepdad, who's Hispanic. So I have two full Hispanic brothers, and my biological dad married back to like a black woman. So now they have two full black babies, and I'm the only mixed combination of the two, right? So I'm like, man, I really got to figure out this answer. So I knew that he had a business, and I never wanted to go and say, hey, you know, because I knew I knew he knew about me, but I didn't know if he cared. And that's just what I wanted to know. Like, it's cool if you don't. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna hurt a lot, but I just want to know, like, you know, just see what happens or whatever. And so I go to his business, and I meet my grandfather, who's very light. He's a black man who's tall and very, very light skinned. And I didn't want him to know who I was. So I said I was doing a paper on local businesses in the city, and, you know, your business came to mind, would, you know, love to schedule an interview soon. So I didn't want him to know who I was, because I didn't want there to be like a surprise. And I didn't want to meet him. I wanted to meet my biological dad. And so when he gave me his card and I got back in my car, I was really, in a way, I was spooked, but not to the point where I'm like shook, but just spooked to where I was not ready to meet my biological dad then. You know, I walked in so confident, and meeting my grandfather, things happen for a reason. Yeah. Things happen for a reason. And so I wasn't meant to meet him, because I had so much anger in me. Mm-hmm. You know, I had so much anger. And though I really just wanted one simple answer, it's not as simple. The question wasn't as simple. Yeah. You know, and so.
But you you went there.
Yeah. I went there physically, and I had a mission, and there was a change of plans, and thank God there was a change of plans, because I really don't know what would have happened. You know, what if it would have left me really fucked up? What if he would have said, like, man, I know about you, but I want you to disappear. I don't care about you. I don't think at that time I was ready to hear that. I'm in a much better place in my life right now. But then there was so much negativity around me that already that I couldn't afford that. Yeah. I couldn't afford that.
That would have drowned you.
Yeah. So, I took a month off from everything. Took a month off from everything. I had some money. I had enough money to do that. And
were you just at the time professionally? Were you still the nighttime producer?
Yeah, I was a nighttime producer, but I was just doing things that I needed to do. So I would go to my events, but I wasn't able to help in things that I wasn't being compensated for.
Because it's kind of wild that, like, you actually hit a point where you say, you know, it's the best day of your life when you got that. Yeah. And then at the same time, paralleling it, like, personally. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a role that's like, you're a nighttime producer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
the thing
so
is,
weird.
and what makes it so strange is that the title is a lot more glamorous than everything behind it.
Always is.
The title is more glamorous.
Just like the destination is for so many people thinking about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I held that so proudly, though. And to this day, I've held it so proudly because, you know, it's something that I really worked hard to do. For years, I wanted to be at Power, and now at 22, I'm the head night producer, right? So I'm super proud of the moment, but it's not matching with my lifestyle. And I'm not a glamorous, like, over the top bougie person that spends a lot of money. I just needed to make ends meet, and I wasn't making ends meet because I was getting paid a certain amount there, and I was getting paid a certain amount with Street Team, and it wasn't enough to really make ends meet. So I wasn't in the right state of mind. So I had to take a month off from things that I wasn't being compensated for, which really was like just working for Mondo. And just everything, just disconnecting from everybody. And honestly, I have so much respect for that man because I told him, you know, man, I need to get a side job. Denise, don't waste time in that. Like, you're so good. You know, if you take some marketing courses, I'll let you handle my campaigns. Mind you, this is like early Instagram, early Twitter. And you know, before Postmates, there was 24-hour AnyFood. And they were just looking for an Instagram. They were just looking for like, hey, shout me out and I'll give you some money. And at the time, it's like, you're telling me $1,000 to post this? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, let me take advantage
Where they do
of
that at?
So I went back to school. I took some marketing courses. And it was like, I think I took 2 semesters of it. And I was able to run his marketing side of things, and I was making some money there, a lot more money than
the
I was.
Mondo campaign became real.
The Mondo campaign became so real, and that man has honestly given me so many opportunities.
And shout out to Mondo Fresco though, because like, look, like, it's evident that you're somebody that takes pride in what they do and like are willing to go above and beyond, right? Like, who the fuck is in a position that you're in, right? Being told like, look, like, go take this course and this, and you're taking these courses, right? And it's crazy, like, because I'm gonna take a moment and take a step back into like the outside looking in. Yeah, because you're going through all of this and you're 22. It's easy for somebody outside of it to be like, okay, you've been through trials and tribulations. You're still in an age where you wouldn't have graduated college yet. So you're going through like the motions, right? And it should be something that you can look at and be like, well, I'm still really young. But the fact that you are like so entrenched in this, you dedicated that like, okay, school is not the option right now. I'm going to do whatever it takes. But let this highlight the fact that like when you're entrenched in something, you're not able to like look elsewhere, right? Because you're 22. Looking back at it now, you're just like, damn, like, yeah. But like, you're 22, you're having this type, like, you're not getting paid, whatever, but like, you're given opportunity. And also, look, Mondo had to have said things in a way where you truly believed it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Because you have been through shit where you understood what the falsehood of this hope is, like, directly, right? But being somebody that has gone through that disappointment in these areas, there was something very real about how it was being communicated and your belief in the fact that it was going to end okay, in that you weren't just like, you know what, fuck it, you're just like everybody else, right?
Yeah, what made his situation special is he's always been very open about his journey. Right, he grew up in Southgate, California. I grew up in Compton, and I went to school in Huntington Park, which is right in between both cities. Right, so this is somebody who grew up in the same area that I grew up in. Right, and he's done Power 106, he's done MTV2, he's done stuff with Nike, and he still has time for his family. And I'm just thinking like that's me.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And the way that he words things, he's such an inspirational person. I don't think he's had the platform to really shine and be that inspiring individual, but I hold it very highly, and I'm very grateful that I've ever been able to have a conversation with him and have him bring me under his wing and show me like, you know what, this is that, this is that, this is what a studio looks like, this is what an audition looks like, this is what being on air looks like, this is what I have to do off the mic, this is what I have to do. There's so much that I was taught for free. Like I was able to take a front row seat into his life. And what it was transitioning to, because now he's becoming this bigger star, and the way that he's doing that is through marketing and social media.
And he's including you.
And he's including me. Yeah, he's making me
all
feel
all of these scenarios where he's like, look, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Or it's a matter of time. As much as it's not coming to fruition, you're like, well, fuck, like.
Yeah.
I know
keep in mind too, like my whole life, all I really wanted was a group of friends or at least one friend that was my goal without even really knowing, like, that's the goal that I wanted. I just wanted to make sure that I had somebody that was like, cool, like, Denise, I want what's best for you. Like, this is that and the other. And I'm loyal by default, man. I feel like anyone who's from the area that I'm from, they're very loyal. Yeah. Those are the people that are riding for you through thick and thin. And if you're good to me, I'm good to you. It's very easy. And so he showed me that early on, like, Denise, this is how you do this. Denise, this is how you do that. Like, nobody has to take the time to show you how to do something, especially if it's like, if you're aspiring to do something that they're doing. Like, why would somebody take the time to show you that if you can potentially become competition at one point?
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that he gave me the liberty to just be anything. He kind of acted like my mom. He had a lot of you know, a lot of characteristics that my mom had, which is like dream big. Yeah. Everyone's like, you know, you have to do one thing, dedicate your time to radio. That's all you want to do. And he was the first person that kind of said like, no, I want to do radio and I want to do TV. See? Highlight.
Every time.
For real, though.
Highlight. So he went, shout out to the siren. So he wanted, you know, he did radio, he did TV, he did sports. He wasn't just, you know, doing one thing. And though some can
it was very parallel, y'all's world.
Very, very, very parallel. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. So he was able to communicate that with me, share his journey, be very honest, help me, you know, as much as he could.
Yeah.
And just be honest, like, yo, you know, Denise, you have so much potential. Don't let it go. You have so much potential. And it's really having somebody like that instead of, because I could have been working with like a Devil Wears Prada situation, you know?
Yeah, for real.
And it could have really tainted my experience.
Easy.
Yeah.
But because of that, I've never been jaded. Like all my opportunities, I've been very blessed. So, you know, working with him, I was able to, you know, meet somebody at Revolt. Oh, Revolt was the year before Revolt was born. They were like going to a lot of different media outlets, and they stopped by Power. Was talking to one of the producers there, and they were talking to Mondo, and I was talking to somebody else, and we just hit it off. And she's like, her name is Dana. She's like, oh, you know, you should be on the panel on Revolt when we launch. It's like, oh, perfect. Would love that opportunity. And sure enough, she gave me my first TV appearance.
Oh wow.
You know? And so slowly but surely things started kind of moving in the direction that I wanted them to move into. So I was doing I let go of Street Team to focus on being the head producer, right? Mm-hmm. Mind you, I'm working from 11 p.m. to 5:15 a.m. All right. But I didn't want to complain because I was, you know, I'm producing this show and I'm super excited that I'm the one that's being trusted enough to run this, right? Mm-hmm. I did that for 3 years because...
What a lifestyle.
Oh, man. Dude, you have no idea. You sacrifice so many things.
Oh.
You sacrifice you sacrifice your day.
Yeah.
You sacrificed 3 years for the most part. And what's crazy is that I was still... Because I took those marketing courses, Mondo gave me the opportunity to take advantage of like his business deals and stuff like that. So we were reaching out to like local companies and putting together these proposals, putting together... things that I was putting together in my high school campaign. So I was finally applying that
to real life now.
To real life and realizing that you were never really meant to be president. Like you're creative. You were meant that campaign served its purpose to show you what marketing is and what researching is and what going big. There's no limit. Like meat market, butcher paper. Are you kidding me? I know nobody else that has done that. Nobody else knows you can get butcher paper if you just ask a meat market.
Right.
And so I was finally applying that through different social media campaigns, and it was cool because it's like money that I needed when it was right on time. And things happen like that. Things happen right on time, and it's crazy because we're so in a hurry and we feel so rushed. Like I was tired of eating Del Taco, but it was still not the right time.
Yeah.
You know, and it took a minute for me to realize that. And so I was doing that with him, and then when things started really popping off, I let go of Power, and that was hard. Letting go of Power, even though I still have a relationship with the company, I'm no longer working with the company.
Yeah.
And leaving that was hard because it's something that I strived for so long.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
it's really closing a chapter.
It's really closing a chapter. And I've been doing so much behind the scenes stuff that I was almost convinced like I belong behind the scenes. Like that's what I wanted to do. You know, and partially because I was able to get a front row seat of Mondo's life and the publicity that he got and the fans that he got, and sometimes like his privacy was being interfered with, and that's not something that I wanted. So I was almost convinced that, all right, he's doing that. I'm going to focus on production and behind the scenes. Like that's what I want to do. That's how we're going to grow together with this brand.
Yeah.
And, when I was at Revolt, I realized that I really like to be in front of the camera. And I can do both. I can be behind the camera and I can be in front of the camera. So I was reached out to with this event that I did with Nike. I was already doing events with Mondo and Nike. And there was one event where they reached out to me personally to do this football league, the Nike Football Society, right? Man, that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. It was so cool. It was all influencers. Everyone put their jobs aside. There was no pride. And we went to go play flag football every Sunday. best feeling in the world.
You know what's wild? I saw that and I was like, fuck, I wish I could do that.
Oh man, yeah.
Dude, it was so cool. I mean, not to add to your little rain parade here, but my team won the championship.
Shit, whose rain parade you talking about? Don't make me silently
We run the
celebrate.
trophy. It got so competitive, you know, and it was so cool because it was my first experience where I was able to really feel like, yo, I don't care. Nothing matters. How broke I am doesn't matter. I'm barely starting to see some money, but I'm not seeing the money that I want to see. Nothing matters. All these guys I'm looking at Blue. I'm looking at Gavin. I'm looking at, who else am I looking at? I'm looking at T. I'm looking at Coco. I'm looking at.
Hey, shout out to Coco. I love you.
Coco is a beautiful soul,
I love you.
Man. I'm looking
Courtney, I love you to death. Know that.
I'm looking at so many people that I aspire to be like.
Yeah.
You know, this is the blind faith. This is the blind faith.
But like, look, like you're in a position where you're naturally one of them.
Exactly.
So again,
we're the same.
it's like real. Like even though it may not be validated to whatever.
Yep.
Like it's crazy in your journey, like these continuation moments. It's like, yo, like you would not be afforded the opportunity to be a part of this influencer league if you weren't considered one. But like, you weren't gonna let the fact that like, all right, well, shit, y'all
I just owned it.
Though. Like,
I just owned it, and that's what you have to do. Like, you have to really live the lifestyle that you want. Like, you have to. If this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm never one, like I said, to put my problems onto anybody else's. No one's gonna know that I'm struggling.
And imagine this was another instance where it was like a beacon of light, but it was also somewhere where, and I'll make an assumption, right, where you were part of a group that felt like home.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So it was kind of like,
brings it full circle.
It's kind of like, fuck, like I've been doing this and I've been wanting to find this, and in this moment, like shit, like I'm a part of something where we're a team. And through this team, it's a team of a lot of like-minded individuals, but like
literally,
I'm a part of a group.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was Champions. Yeah. Silent celebration. Cue that in.
No, but and then what's cool is that so through that event, Drew was on my team, right? Drew Bird was on my team.
Shout out to Drew Bird.
And he had a 40s and Shorties event, right? And so I go to the event. I'm still trying to like, you know, even though I'm not like, I don't have all the money in the world, I'm at a better place than I was before. Yeah. So I'm able to really like network and do my part, right? And so I went to a 40s and Shorties event, and I met a girl there, and she was just talking to me about music and stuff, and I don't really know what she does. I'm not asking the right questions at this point because I'm not too familiar with how networking works. I don't want to feel like I'm grilling you.
Never find out how networking works.
Yeah,
just
never.
Be you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Never find out
Yeah.
what networking is. Never be a networker. Never break bread with a goddamn single soul. Yeah. Just be you. You're perfect.
Yeah. So I was talking to this girl, and we're kicking it off. She's a little older than me. At this point, by the way, everyone that I meet is older than me, even now. But anyway, so she's talking to me, and she's like, "Oh, you know, you would really be good with our team. I produce a show, and I think you would really be good on it, right?" And I was like, "All right, cool. Just shoot me an email, and we'll see. We'll definitely see about it." And so she's like, oh, "Okay, cool." So she goes, and it's an email from All Def Digital, right, which is Russell Simmons' company. And they're looking for hosts, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll walk in. I have no experience. I don't have a reel, but she obviously saw something in me, and I'm that person that if you see something in me, maybe it's me not seeing it in myself. So I'm gonna just own it. So
take their word.
Yeah. So I go into the interview, and everything is great. My audition is great. My meeting with the producers are great. The only thing is that my social media isn't high enough. Right? Like, oh, you're great, but you don't really have a lot to offer us because, and I didn't say it in those words, but it was that vibe. Like, your social media numbers aren't high enough. Oof. And I'm just like, when you're being told that right in front, it's almost like you're not good enough because you don't have enough, you're not popular enough.
Right.
And it's like, are you kidding me? And I'm literally in there with like a grin, like, I understand.
That night you buy like 25,000 followers.
Yeah.
What now?
I'm like, no, and that's the thing.
No, it's just ridiculous.
I knew about bot followers, but I didn't believe in that.
No, it's so ridiculous. Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm wondering too, like, man, did they know about bot followers? Like, why am I being...
How surface level is this shit?
Insane.
So I was like, oh man, this is... I'm disappointed, but whatever. I get a call back and they decide to move forward. So... It was really cool to see that because it made me feel like, well, Denise, like you have something that you're not seeing. Yeah. Like there's some potential that people are seeing in you because you got this opportunity at Power. You got this opportunity at Revolt. You're at All Def Digital now, owned by Russell Simmons. You had your opportunity with CV Wonder. Like there's so many good parts in your life that you're just not seeing. And part of it is because it's not parallel yet. It's not.
Yeah.
And so... I was at All Def Digital and I was building my reel there because they had me doing a lot of content. I was hosting their daily show every time the host was missing, and I was doing woman on the street stuff, and I was just having a great time. And I started to really realize like I could do this.
Yeah.
Like I could do this more regularly. And so I was just feeling that I was doing something right for the first time ever. And
thanks God.
Yeah, really. Yeah, for the first time ever. And by this time, I'm 23, and I'm really just figuring it out. I'm shaking hands. I'm being as confident as I can. I'm 23, but I'm kind of ashamed of my age because everyone around me is so much older than me that I felt like I wasn't being taken seriously enough. So I would kind of just play it like, oh, I'm just not going to talk about how old I am. Just kind of going to let my actions and my mannerisms speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And so...
shit, I wish I had that. Like, I rolled in like at 22 looking like I was 36. Receded hairline and all that. But continue, go ahead.
So at this point, Mondo's brand is really growing, and I'm following with it. And he decides to bring in new interns. So now I'm taking on this role of like the oldest sibling, like the leader, like, hey, interns, I'm no longer an intern anymore. And now he's paying me on a retainer, right?
Awesome.
So I'm just like, man, everything is just looking up. And
you're 23.
I'm 23. And
where the fuck's the ambulance when you need it? Where's y'all
at? So I'm 23. I'm overlooking these interns, and I'm seeing myself in a lot of them, right? I'm seeing myself, and I'm learning from what I liked about my internship and what I don't want somebody else to feel like. That feeling was like, oh, this isn't going anywhere, right? So I'm doing that, and I'm still trying. Now at this point that I've grown Mondo's brand, I'm trying to grow my brand. I'm no longer with any big corporation, so I don't have like somebody on my back. You know, and not on my back in a bad way, but I'm not walking in unless you know Denise.
Yeah.
You don't know Denise.
Yeah.
Oh, Denise from Power? No more. Oh, Denise from, was she on Revolt? Oh yeah, she was. She hasn't been on Revolt for a long time though. Oh, okay. Denise from All Def Digital. Oh, okay. Oh, she's the one that's kind of on and off. I didn't have anything concrete. Yeah. Right. I wanted to own something. Yeah. Wanted to really own something, and so I was brainstorming with Mondo, like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to work for another company. I really like what we got going on here. I feel like we could take it to another level. And he's like, all right, well, why don't we just start a company? And I was like, all right. So it made it sound easy. All right, let's start a company.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, you're right.
And he's like, all right, we can. You're good at, you have good marketing skills now. Like you can take advantage of social media, like different social medias. And I was already doing that for other small businesses. Like I did it for like this plant business, and I was doing their social media, just going once a week to take pictures and put them up on Twitter and Instagram. I was helping certain radio personalities with their accounts. So I was already applying a lot of these skills. So they were very polished. And he's like, yeah, we'll build a social media agency. Or we'll build a company and we'll take over these social medias, right? I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So being from Compton, which is also known as Hub City, he's from Southgate. We created Hubgate, right? Hubgate was really cool. We were able to bring a couple Pepsi brands on board. How we even connected with Pepsi was we were working at a creative studio called The Great Company. And through there was so many creatives that were walking in, and Pepsi was using that as an out-of-office space. So one of our buddies there connected us because he really liked the direction that we were taking social media. Yeah. And so we were able to take over Sobeys, Brisk, and Stubborns, right, which is their new soda. We were providing a lot of original content for them, and it was really, really cool. But it wasn't as fulfilling, right? It wasn't as fulfilling. It's an amazing, humbling. I'm grateful for that experience. We both are. But there was more to the creative side that we wanted to do, right? Aside from just marketing, you know, I wanted to do like maybe 75% creative and 25% marketing, just to make sure that we're applying, that we're being true, and we're not like, what's the word? Like, we're being honest. Like, I want to create. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm happy. Like, we wanted to make sure that we were happy. If we're going to run our own business, like, we want to make sure that we're happy. And Mondo is an amazing leader. Though I'm a firstborn child, he's a firstborn child too. And the fact that he has some years on me and he's able to really, like, hone in that. Yeah. He kind of honed in that, like, big brother, you know, I got you. Like, we're going to be all right. And it's cool because it's like, all right, you're right. We are going to be all right. It's good to have that mindset and to have a team like that. So after we did Hubgate for a year, right? And we decided that we wanted to take things into more of the creative direction. Yeah. So we had to kind of end Hubgate, and then Hub Wave was born. Hub Wave was born. Hub still, it means the center. Aside from Hub City, it also means the center of things. And Wave is the highest quality of audio, higher than MP3. So we both came from a music background, and music is a heavy influence. So the company essentially was born with myself, Mondo, and another individual. And the moment that it launched last February. The day that it launched, everything about it was special. The build-up was the best part, because we're brainstorming like 10 different names, right, for the actual company. On top of that, we're thinking of slogans. Like, wow, what's a slogan? It's like, and we have this huge whiteboard. Like, it kind of just felt like that Steve Jobs moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're writing so much stuff on there that you're just like, the messier it looks, the better, right? Yeah. There's coffee everywhere. Like, we're having late nights, early mornings. We're thinking about the direction. We're creating the deck for it so we can explain to people what it is. We're listening to the demographic for it. Like, everything is just like building up to this great thing. And then the launch date comes, and it launched on Mondo's birthday. Right?
Incredible.
Launched on Mondo's birthday, and it was just like the most indescribable feeling ever. It's like, and what's crazy about it is that there's no money. We're not walking into this thinking, yo, we're gonna make a lot of money off of this. We're walking into this thinking we could create anything we want.
Because we just did.
Because we just did. We can create anything we like. To have the world at the palm of your hands like that, like, hey, you know, let's say we pitch an idea to a corporation, right, that we're working with, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Do you really think it's going to be successful? Oh, yeah, I'm actually pretty confident it will be. You know, and the fact that they don't believe in this idea, and now we can create this idea without having to ask anybody for permission is the most liberating feeling ever. Absolutely. It's like, you know, it's exactly why you guys do this podcast. Just the fact that there is no one on your back. There's no, you have the direction. You're driving the ship. You're steering it.
You goddamn right we are.
That's right, baby.
So it's one of those situations where, though money wasn't the initial thought, it was better that way, because you don't create something to make money. You don't, if you're working in radio from experience and your initial goal is, I'm just here to make money, you're in the wrong field, buddy.
Well, this was finally also the point where you weren't the help. You were like the partner.
I was the partner.
Right.
And so, and you
were equipped though. Yeah. Like, this is the thing. It's like, money may not be there. Anybody that starts something know that it's not the case, but I'll make a wild assertion in that there was a level of happiness being that you knew that you were a part of something, right? And that everything you'd been through is helping you and allowed you to do this.
Absolutely.
And opportunity is limitless. Like, this is actually one of the first times, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to go in this monologue. But like, this is actually one of the first times where the reality of all your work sets in, right? The framing of all of your work sets in. Everything you were promised from your mentor Mondo is being actualized. It doesn't need to mean you need to get a check for $100K and like you're balling out of control. But this is where all of those, you're better than this, like, please, like, just, you know what I'm saying? There's probably moments where it's like, yo, please don't, I swear to God, it's going to work out, all these things. But this is one of those moments where at the end of the day, it's not about what you reap from it. It's just about it being real.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not about you being the most popular. It's just you having your core group of friends.
Absolutely.
So now in this moment, you've been hitting these certain scenarios. You're living a little better, but you have something that not only you're proud of, but you can call a piece of your own.
Absolutely.
It's like home.
It's exactly like home. That's my team. That's my family. That's me. You know, that's my heart. That's my heart. That's my baby. And so, you know, through that, like building that, everything kind of just started looking up after that. It's a lot. That first year was rough because it's all about, I mean, I'm sure you guys are very familiar. It's just all about just getting your name out there. So, you know, we were putting in like 30, because we have a website, but we also were producing different video series and we were doing different events. So we were recording every day and we were doing 3 shoots a day, right? Just creating content, storing some of the can, reaching out to different companies, and creating these series for them. And it wasn't till like that year was really important to me because it was the year that I really started seeing the fruits of my labor. And I started to really understand that the blind faith that I had wasn't blind at all. It was, I saw the vision. It was just a little blurry, you know? And, I was really hurt by the relationship that I had with my grandmother. And when I was able to like just hand over some money, it brought things full circle because that was, though I was making her feel better and reassuring her like, hey, you know, I'm in a better place. Like, you don't have to worry. Here's some money. Like, trust me, I don't need it. I really want to give it to you. I was also talking to myself, like an older version of myself and telling myself like, yo, it's going to be all right. Like, you're going to be okay. You know, this is all full circle. Like, this is exactly what was meant to happen. And, you know, that disappointment that I had with my grandmother was with myself, you know, and I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
You know,
and at the end of the day, it's like mother, grandmother, any figure. Like, it's not about any type of wealth or like, or like celebrity or like flash. It's just like, at least be independent. Yeah. And at least be better than us.
Yeah. For real.
You know what I mean? Like, at least like make us feel like, because like, you know, I feel like it's like that with all like figures, adult figures in people's lives. If we take all the bullshit out, it's just like, look, at least be better. Yeah. Like, at least make us feel like we've done something.
Yeah, and there's a feeling of like, I think it's when you said it's yourself that you're feeling like bad about. It's not really like mad at them. It's really mad at yourself. It's because like, you know, it's like you're almost a disappointment, not to them, but to like to yourself and your ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's hard to even be positive around them until you reach that point. You know, it just is.
And how crazy is it that point wasn't like a monetary point? That point was just like, okay,
it's a happiness point.
I've went through literally tsunamis, right? I've been wading in this water with a life vest that's like half gone, but I'm afloat and the tide has calmed down and I'm actually like inching towards sand. Yeah. Right? I'm not inching toward my beach house.
No, inching towards just sand.
Yeah. Even though in the delirium of it all, like you've seen the beach house and you actually know like, well, shit, I'm at least on land now where I could like get after this motherfucker. Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like we realize that full circle really isn't attaining a destination.
Yeah, it's not.
And like I think this is a very picturesque moment because when we have you back, I want to really delve into the experiences that you've had. Yeah. And I feel like this is a very like significant moment because what was it? Like, what was it that you told me? Like, llegamos what?
Llegamos what?
I feel like I was, regardless of that, is right? I was like, I can't find it, so I'm just gonna like let it pass. But it's one of those things where through all of your trials and tribulations, your dreams led you up until this point. And it wasn't solely your belief. Like, you worked at the shit.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, I worked my ass off.
You worked at the shit hard. And the moment where it actually made sense was that it finally became real. It wasn't that you finally got $100,000 check from this brand or that brand or the other. Not saying that you're not going to get that, because you guys are, right? But the moment that it really like made sense was when all of the fruits of that labor became a reality.
Yeah. Or it even, it became a reality. And then it's just, I kind of started fixing the problems that that had created. You know, I feel like more than anything, that's when I started to feel like when the problems started feeling less and less like problems, and they started feeling like solutions. Like I had actual solutions. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that moment there made everything right. Like I was paying off debts. I was giving my family money. I was feeling better about myself. I was, you know, I was happy. I had friends. I had, you know, I had a vision, and I was doing things. I was being honest to myself. You know, I feel like that's something that kind of got jaded throughout the way. After I like when I left school, college, I feel like I was a little jaded in the sense that I had all this confidence and pride, confidence really, not pride, when I got to being student body president, and then it crashed, right? Then I got into power, and that confidence boosted back up, right? And then it crashed. And then it crashed for so long that I forgot, I lost my sense of identity. Like I forgot what it was to be confident and to embrace everything that I have worked for, because I was down for so long. You know, it was the longest I had ever been down. And I'd reached the point where the sun was out. You know what I'm saying? Like, when was the last time you were just happy that the sun was out?
It feels weird. Like, when it feels weird to be happy, it's like
it does.
It's like a foreign feeling, because you become this like negative character.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, this is the person I am, and you start like waiting for this point to reach, but then you realize like it's not like, okay, I'm there. It's like, oh wait, you just wake up. You're like, I'm happier.
Yeah.
I'm headed in this direction. Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's not like an actual tangible point.
Yeah.
But there's a shift that actually starts to happen. And that we've all felt. And such a simple feeling like being happy, like as simple as that is, can have so much strength when it's not.
It's crazy to see like and realize what like simply happy is.
Absolutely. Simply happy to me was the look in my grandmother's face. Because to me, that was her life and the experiences that she's gone through and everything that she shared with me is like kind of like looking into what could have been of me and realizing like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But how is it that I decided to go another way and still became a disappointment? If I was trying to avoid being a disappointment the whole time, how is it that that's exactly what I ended up doing? And when, you know, I was able to reassure her and reassure myself that we're in a good place, it was beyond anything. It was beyond anything. It wasn't a monumental moment. It was just more so like, you're human. Like you're still alive. I'm no longer having those thoughts. I'm no longer questioning anything. The blind faith is no longer blind, you know, and it just, you're right. It's not the money that brings anything full circle. I'm grateful for everything that I've gone through because, you know, give me something else. Give me something else because I've gone through hell and back. And I'm only 24. And I think that's the best part about it. You know, when you're able to recognize your place in the world and realize that what I do is amazing. I get paid to talk about anything that I want to talk about. I have brands that trust me and give me the liberty to speak on anything that I want. Yeah. in the way that I want and just be myself. You know,
They value your voice.
Yeah, they value my voice. And I've never had to compromise anything. I never had to compromise my views. I never had to compromise myself, you know, and that's an amazing thing. And that's something that not many can say. I could have easily said, oh man, all right, well, let me be very feminine and use my femininity to get more money. But that's not what the direction that I wanted to go towards. And I'm grateful that I'm strong enough to turn down certain opportunities. Absolutely. Because though I was poor also because I wanted to be poor. Yeah. You know, I didn't have to struggle that way, but it was the only way for me to still focus on what I wanted to do. I could have easily taken a part-time job, but I didn't. I could have easily taken advantage of another opportunity with a different promo gig, but I didn't want to do that. And it's really all it is as crazy, and not even crazy, as generic and as boring as it might sound. It's really just believing that you can possibly do it. Just you genuinely telling yourself and looking in the mirror and realizing like you're good enough. Yeah. You know, you're good enough to charge people. And I'm at 23, at 22, 23. You're good enough to guide people, and you're good enough to give advice. You're good enough to give yourself advice, you know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, that's my story so far.
And it's a blessing. And I'll tell you one thing, just as a fan of you as a human being, and as a fan of your journey, is that keep believing. Feel me? Keep going, keep believing, and stay curious. Because it's wild that what would be college education was all of this.
Yeah.
Right. And it's beautiful to see. It's actually humbling to see that, like, you never viewed it that way. It was real life from the jump, right? And it's an absolute honor to even hear this story, and it's a pleasure to be able to tell this. Just keep believing. Like, the sky's the limit for you, and I'm sure that you're gonna keep blossoming into things that will continue to surprise yourself.
Thank you, Anish.
I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. No keep reaching for being president.
Lit. For real. One day. I mean, look.
You never know. I could change.
Look, you want to start regionally? We'll do that.
Okay,
because, look,
thank you. I'm already hiring
Keith,
you.
Don't think I forgot that 2024, motherfucker. Because I'm already endowed campaign manager somewhere else. But look, we're gonna do that. Let's go.
Let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? I just won't celebrate silently. You can. I'll just realize it. It's a wrap. And with that, I'm about to call Mama and say, Mama, we made